Thanks for checking out the They're Queer podcast. This episode will contain spoilers for the new Scream movie. To avoid spoilers, check out the chapters in the description of this episode. Now on with the show.
You are listening to the superfreakmedia podcast network. If you like this podcast, please be sure to show your support and follow us on our other social media platforms. Check out the links listed in the description of this episode to find out more. Thank you.
I could not. I audibly gasped and couldn't help it. They did the Billy knife wipe in sync.
Yeah, it was like, do you know in Drag Race with the shut up and drive lip sync and they'll death drop at the same time? It was like that. I had to stop myself from getting up and like waving my finger in the air.
Absolutely, Michelle Visage when Roxy pulls the wig.
Welcome to the They're Queer podcast, the podcast where two homos called Liam delve into the world of horror, decide to piss off to college, get a bob.
What's your name, POB? So they calling you Bob?
Get some weird boyfriend who looks about 30 when he should be playing an 18-year-old.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
Who likes to sing about us in public.
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
And suddenly take up an interest in theatre that we had no idea about before. And yeah, try not to get killed.
I feel like that's a pretty solid stab in the dark. You should maybe go to college and not try to die.
Oh, I wonder if that was one of the taglines for one of the Stab sequels. A stab in the dark.
A stab in the dark.
Oh.
Yeah. I suppose if Stab went found footage, that could work.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be, like a Blair Witch style Stab movie. I don't know.
Anyway, a little bit of housekeeping before we go on.
Housekeeping.
I am now known as the artist formerly known as Liam J. I've changed my name, so my name is now Liam Valentine.
What's my name?
Partial homage to Tiffany Valentine from the Chucky series.
Shut up, it is not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Mainly because I just wanted a new name.
I mean, why not? Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I spoke to you, I didn't realize that you'd legally changed your name. I think that's incredible. Mm-hmm. Also, didn't realize how easy that was. So
yeah, it's so easy. I might do it again next month.
I was going to say, do you have like a maximum amount? Like, do they say?
No, I don't
you should
think
probably
so.
only do this like once every 6 months.
I did change it in February, so maybe I'll do it for each holiday.
What, you changed it in Feb? Oh, so you changed it to Valentine this February. Did you change your name before?
Yeah, well,
or did you just have a stage name?
No. My mum and my stepdad changed my name legally without my knowledge when I was a child.
A child.
And it was to my stepdad's surname, and I hate his surname. I always have done. So then I just started going by Liam James because that's my middle name, and I was like, it's just easier. And then I was sitting there at work, and I was like, because I really want to get into writing, I really want to get myself published. And I was like, Liam James isn't going to sell books. Like, this is going to be boring. And then I was like, L. James. And I was like, no, because E.L. James is the one who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, wasn't it? And I was like, I don't want people thinking that that's the kind of stuff I'm writing.
I'm sure it will be.
I mean, plenty of Twilight fanfic, yeah, but no. It was actually my new partner who was like, you went as Tiffany for Halloween. Why don't you steal her surname? And I was like, Valentine. And I was like, Liam Valentine. And then I was like, if I have my pen name as LJ Valentine. I was like, okay, I'd buy a book by someone called LJ Valentine. So, okay, there we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe you never know. I might end up being LJ Thanksgiving.
Oh, honey, Thanksgiving? Oh, honey, thanks living!
LJ Hanukkah.
LJ Easter. Love that. Love that for you. But yeah, I'm just gutted that we can't make BJ puns now about our surnames, but I suppose
No.
that's by the by.
There's BV, bacterial vaginosis. There you go.
Welcome to the Their Queer podcast. But yes, this episode, housekeeping aside, is going to be a good one. I'm not going to say the word exciting because I've noticed listening back to episodes, I go, Liam, I am so excited to be talking about this on this episode. I am excited, but I'll keep that to myself. We are going to be talking about the new Scream film, so Scream 6. So glad that they've dropped it just being Scream. I thought we were potentially going to get like Scream semicolon like Ghostface Return or something. I don't know, but no,
Ghostface takes Manhattan.
I mean, it needed to happen. And also, of course, Scream 2, because I think there's a lot of parallels between those two movies. Essentially, I suppose this is kind of like Scream 2 of the new trilogy that they're trying to do. So your warning is here. There are going to be major spoilers.
What we'll do is Liam will, because Liam does all that kind of stuff. Maybe put a little timestamp of if you haven't seen the film.
I was going to say, we'll how we did it last time when we did 5 Cream. We'll pop some chapters in the description of the episode. So if you want to miss out on talking about Scream 6, you'll skip this next section. In regards to Scream 2, I feel like you've had a good couple of decades to figure out whether or not you want to watch that one. So I'm very, very happy. I'll say this. I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, initial thoughts and having time to sit down and reflect on it. I am absolutely over the fucking moon with this film. I've thought about it a lot. I tried to write down all my feelings for it because last time I was like, oh, I don't know what to write. We went to see a double bill. So we went to see Scream 5. That was, I was going to say immediately followed. No, we had a nice little bathroom break. That was then followed by Scream 6.
But we did run out of the bathroom because we were like, there's no way we're missing that opening scene.
And I think paired together, this film actually strengthens 5. I still don't think that it's, elevated 5 into the greatest horror films of all time. But I feel like paired together, it allowed me to appreciate 5 in ways that I hadn't before. And my feelings for that film have changed as I've, watched it a couple of times. Like, there are bits that I've really begun to appreciate, and I never really gave props to. Like I said to yourself, like the bit with Officer Judy, I never really gave props to it before, and I have to now because I think that's a really great chase sequence when it
it's a really really unique kind of set piece, I think, for the series. I mean, what struck me, because we've got together like both times to watch both of these films, we did this kind of opening night here in the UK for Scream 6, was there's the contrast in how we felt after we left Scream 5 and then how we felt when we'd left Scream 6. And I think Scream 5's definitely grown on me. I think it's a film that when you kind of know what you're going into, there's like you said, there's definitely elements of it that work. I will say, I went to go see Scream 4 when that came out. I was back at college and I saw it at the cinema then. And I don't know, because there'd been such a gap between the original trilogy and then Scream 4. I can remember watching that initially, liking it, but not like loving it, if that makes sense. But then over the years, I'm like, wow, Scream 4 is absolutely like one of my favorite entries into the franchise. And I think the similar sort of things happened with Scream 5. I think we were maybe a bit mad because they changed like a lot. And I think it was hard to kind of get past the fact that Wes Craven wasn't initially involved. And I mean, even with Scream 5, them choosing not to have an opening kill, it was ballsy, but it was very different. And I don't know, I think I maybe looked at myself and thought, maybe I'm not the biggest acceptor of change when it comes to horror films I love. But that's not to say, I think they made some ballsy moves in Scream 6 as well, again, with the opening.
Days.
I was very happy. Yeah,
so let's just get right into it. The opening of this, we were discussing beforehand because we knew that Samara Weaving was attached to it, and I'd create my own separate podcast all about Samara Weaving. I think she bodies every single role that she takes on, and I just think she's. I love that she leans into the horror community have really accepted me and seem to have this love for me, because she's got everything about her. She can do like comedy, she can do serious, and then kind of saw a side to her in this film that was a bit different. I mean, she got to use a native accent for a start, which was nice. But it was, so we had a discussion about, I think we both came to the consensus with that we predicted she'd be the opening kill. Somebody as big as Samara Weaving, especially in a horror film, it was the Drew Barrymore effect again. But I wasn't mad that she was the opening kill, especially the way that they did it. It was so good. And I know that when it opens and then we first see her, you see the back of her in that dress, we both just went, "Aww."
That was it, because I suppose with the marketing and stuff, it was kind of very apparent there were very limited shots of Samara Weaving. So I think we kind of got from the trailer that perhaps they'd maybe tried to trick us a little bit, but she was going to be on the way out pretty early on. Obviously, she's reuniting with the directors who she worked with on Ready or Not, which was great. That must have been great for them as well. Yeah. Like, I mean, imagine having that project and then being like, now I'm taking on one of the biggest franchises in the world. Yeah. Hey, do you want to come play in this sandbox? Like, I think that must have been so cool for them.
Radio Science just seemed to, like, ever since Scream 5, I've watched a lot of behind the scenes stuff with them, and I've watched a lot of interviews with them. They just seem like such lovely, lovely people who just have such a absolute love and respect for everything they do and the people they work with. Like, everybody's spoken about how fun it is on set and how they create such a great environment. And so
actors having room to try stuff. The fact that there is that like fun nature, even though they're making horror movies. They were a natural fit, I think, for it, because Scream has always been a series that blends comedy and horror exceptionally well. And I say that as someone who I don't really like when horrors try to be funny. Like, I get, like, there's this kind of, I don't know, almost formula that, if you make the audience laugh, then when something awful happens, it hits harder. But Scream has always been, I think, quite unique in the fact that it's always been with a bit of a wink, even though you're devastated that these characters are going through it. They were a great fit. And I think they've really, really proven themselves with Scream 6 that it was a nice passing of the torch.
Time to pass the torch! It's all yours, bitch!
But I will say, about that opening, obviously, they did kind of try things with the fact that there was an initial Ghostface reveal straight after the opening kill. I absolutely loved the setup of it, though. Yes. I thought that was so current. Like, we still got the phone kind of iconic opening, but this time it was a date, like through a dating app. And I thought that is so fucking genius. Like, that is exactly how that would happen.
What was terrifying about it is just like so we're already drawing parallels. The first film had that really isolated opening kill. This one made it extremely... Get off my curtain, Scylla. Thank you. Sorry, but this one made the opening like a really public... it was really public. So she's in a bar waiting on somebody she's met off a dating app, and then she goes out front to meet him because he said he's lost. And then, I found it. I was actually on edge because
so creepy,
because we knew that who was on the other line. But as soon as he was he got her to start talking about the rules of a horror film because she's an associate professor. I was like, oh, this is good. And then she's supposed to be the expert. And then that whole reveal of, you don't listen to your own rules. I've just got you down a dark alley.
Absolutely. I mean, as if as well, she couldn't be hotter anyway. When she started breaking down horror movies and she was a film professor, I was like, I want to go to that university and I want to talk films with you. But the reveal, the way it was done, the way that it was to say you're a horror fan, to say that you've still done this. And I think as well, they built up the fact, because the biggest thing, I suppose, about Scream 6 is the fact that they changed locations. We went from Woodsboro, where we've been pretty much the entire time, aside from obviously Scream 3.
And 2.
I suppose. Actually, thinking about it. But so there's this shift, I suppose, from what feels like a small town-y kind of vibe to very much now we're in the Big Apple. And they blasted the doors open with that immediately. And I thought the whole opening kill and setup was, it very much reminded me of Helen Shivers as well. And I know what you did last summer, where you were, I mean, me and you were very vocal when we saw this film. We were literally shouting at the screen like...
Lord, I'm having a heart attack! Damn, this is some scary shit!
Oh yeah, for anyone listening at home, if you are ever unfortunate enough to be seeing a film with me, especially a horror film, I try my hardest to be quiet as possible, but I can't help it. I am Brenda Meeks in Scary Movie. Don't go in there.
I am scared.
But I will be cheering for characters. I will be flipping characters off. I will be, if the movie really gets, I will be laughing out loud at bits that sometimes aren't intentionally funny, like in Smile when I laughed when that cat.
I mean, yeah, that was absolutely hilarious. R.I.P. Cat. So, when I've been to the States a couple of times, I have gone to the movies a few times there. And I will say the experience is totally different to how audiences are here in the UK, because I think we'd both fit right in America. Yeah. Because people would be whooping and clapping and cheering and doing everything.
That's the kind of noise. Yeah. Well, it's not even that. That's the kind of noise I appreciate in a cinema. If people, I like to hear people enjoying a film and reacting to it. I hate people who just decide to come to the cinema for a chat.
Hello. Hey, girl. I'm in the movie. Shake a spin, love.
There was some.
Go
lads,
to a bar.
There were some lads where we were sat who were on the end, and they decided throughout most of Scream 6 they were going to have a little chat. And I was
there
like,
was one bit where I nearly went, "Look, guys, if I wanted the commentary, I'd have just waited for the DVD." But it's I think they were horror geeks though. They were talking about some horror stuff, so I let it slide.
Oh, I don't listen to straight men usually, so I just didn't want to know.
I don't think they were straight.
Were they not?
No, the hand on my leg the entire film kind of told me otherwise. Going back to the film, we had a really cool opening, then a reveal of the killer like pretty much straight away. And I mean, that was one thing that immediately just set it apart. Was we usually get the Ghostface slashing at the screen and then the title card comes up. He slashed at the screen, got covered in blood, and I think everyone all just went, "Oh God," because we're not used to seeing like the impact of that slash. And then stayed with, and then pulled the mask off. I thought it was interesting. I was worried that I was thinking, "Oh God, they're going to change so much now, and it's going to be."
I was really worried in case they were going to be like, "Oh, the audience knows for the whole time who the killer is."
Absolutely frigging not. No,
I don't want that. I don't want that. But no, then we follow this guy back to his apartment, and
Jason literally in Manhattan.
Yeah, Jason in Manhattan goes to his apartment and watches Jason in Manhattan. And then we find out that he's friend of Richie, because he mentions Richie by name from the previous film. And then we find out that him and his friend are wanting to finish what Richie started and get his movie made. I was like, oh, here we go. More
I mean, I loved
bros that I hate. So yeah.
I mean, it was definitely, I think it commented on that in a nice way, but I kind of got how they had like all the merch everywhere, and they had to, I was like, that's a bit of me, but I wouldn't go as far as killing people. So I found it quite interesting. And I suppose with the opening and then also kind of what comes next, because ultimately the Ghostface reveal doesn't last that long, because then, as we were quite delighted to see the real Ghostface then turns up, they definitely stick by their guns, saying that this is one of the goriest Scream films that we've had. I mean, literally, we get a head and body parts in a fridge. So I was in straight away.
It was glorious, and that whole hotter, colder thing was scary, because it reminded me of in Scream 5, where they've got that tracking app where you can like track where someone is. That worked really. Like watching that again, I was like, oh God, that is scary. And then this one being even scarier when it was like, oh, hotter, colder, hotter, and then the bit where it got me was when you like walk past, and then I was like, so what? Where the f*** is he? If he's like, they really can see the fridge, and then it kind of was like, oh shit, okay. Then I started thinking, Friday 13th Part 2.
Head in the fridge. I thought it was brilliant, and I think it was a really solid opening. And I mean, we got 3 kills in this opening, so it was definitely bigger and better. They knew what they were doing when they were saying, let's make a sequel. I will say quickly, we went to the bathroom before we watched this one, and then as I was pissing in the cubicle, I was like, this is how the opening kill Scream 2 started. If I can hear someone whispering in the next door, I'm not. Incredible. Yeah, if you'd have sat down and you had your jacket on and a ghost face mask, I would have been the hell out of there. I'd have just been like, this has been great. I think it was a really, really strong opening. And then I think the thing that also really struck me about this film is that it just starts and then does not stop. Like, to say this was the longest film in the franchise, it didn't feel it to me at all.
No. There wasn't too much. There wasn't a lot of dead air. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I think I did get like a little bit concerned, I think, partway through, thinking, oh, well, we've not had like as many kills as I would have probably thought, but then it kind of amped up again. But at the same time, we had a lot of suspense and near kills, if that makes sense. Yeah. So there was lots going on all the time. We obviously meet our core four from Scream 5, which was nice, and it was good to see that they'd relocated to NY. They were living their lives, having house parties. Mason Gooding was looking great as a cowboy.
Yeah, it was.
I think this is why I don't think the people next to us were straight, because I think they were also appreciating Mason Gooding, but at the same time, maybe he just crosses boundaries. You
I mean, I kind of want to bury my head in between those tits. I really do.
Those pecs.
So I didn't know he was Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. I never made that connection. Yeah, that was something. I was like, our worlds apart. You got big problematic dad, and then somebody who just seems like
just so nice and lovely.
Yeah, I watching interviews with him, he just seems lovely. And I forget when the Dead Meat James and Chelsea were like interviewing him, and he knew them by name, and he was like, "I watch you all the time." And it's like, "Oh, he's a little nerd," and he's got
one of us.
He's got like a Dragon Ball Z tattoo and everything. I'm like, "Oh, he's a little nerd. I just want to eat him up and then have him eat me out."
In that order.
Anyway, we get reestablished with the core four, and I think it's the way that they don't give too much away, like in dialogue, but you can really see through the performances how like the journey that these people have had since leaving Woodsboro. And I think that's what I appreciate about this film a lot more as well, is we got to really get into the core four. Like, we knew them as people now. Before, with Tara's character, I really didn't feel like I knew her that much.
Well, she was just in a wheelchair moping in a hospital for
Whereas this, I really got a great sense of who she is. The same with the twins. The twins really expanded on and became... Both of them really remind me of Dewey in a way that they've kind of, to me, they were like the heart of this film.
I feel like Mason Gooding's character's very much become the Dewey of the series. And I mean, we'll touch upon that again, obviously. But I think, obviously we've got Mindy taking on Randy's very much kind of monologue, rule-centric kind of brains of the operation. I think what stood out as well, obviously the new dynamics completely like reestablished now. So we kind of find out why they're there, also why Sam's also there, because she's not in college with these guys, but she's there to be protecting Tara. A complete 180 as well, I think, on Sam's character. Like, initially, I think I was really looking at her under the microscope, because I think the thing that stood out, and even on rewatching Scream 5, was I just didn't think her performance was there. No. And it's because I think she was surrounded by such strong characters as well, and actors.
I also think she was given some not so great dialogue in 5, whereas
it was all very exposition-y.
Yeah, and and this one was great because she just got to live in a character and not have to worry about, like, because she didn't have to tell the audience like 20 odd years of backstory this time around. And I saw a tweet yesterday that really stuck it for me. They went, "It needs to be studied in class on how Sam Carpenter's character was one of the weakest parts of Scream 5 and is now arguably one of the strongest parts of Part 6.
Absolutely.
And I completely agree with that. I think Sam's character from 5 to 6, it's just, she's like, I was rooting for her the whole time.
I mean, I think it was definitely taking, I think, some kind of ideas from some of like the Halloween films or the other films that have picked up sequel wise with the same protagonist, where we're then kind of picking up where these characters are dealing with the trauma of like what's come in films previous. We see Sam's in therapy admitting to the fact that she killed. It kind of felt okay for her to do it. So does she think she's closer to her father than she'd like to be? And then we also then get to see that while the other people of the group are maybe addressing some of the shit they've got going on, Tara's completely ignoring it and just trying to pretend it didn't happen. And I think that was interesting. It wasn't trauma. It wasn't like Laurie Strode downing a bottle of wine at a dinner table kind of level of trauma, but it was. I think it was enough. Like it didn't. I wasn't frustrated with the fact that it was trying to sell me so many ideas. We had this. No. We had the group. We got that they were trying to get on with their lives. It was difficult. There's kind of some romances happening with side characters. It was nice, and I genuinely cared for them as much as I think I probably did the characters in Scream 4 and obviously the core characters from the original series throughout. So. I think they did really, really well with that. And that's why I enjoyed it a lot more.
Well, we get our first hint quite early on that Sam has become this kind of like villain on the internet because of Reddit conspiracies that she was the mastermind behind the events of Scream 5, and actually Richie and Amber were the victims, and it's. They did it. The way that they approached it was incredible because it speaks to you all. Like I can speak from experience because I have dealt with young people who idolize like serial killers and real life people. It's a big thing. I mean,
also cancel culture as a whole thing though as well. I mean, like it's very much something that they literally do address later on, but the assassination of people's character online means so much more. Now, I mean, that wouldn't have even been a thing in the initial films, obviously.
No,
and it's such a fundamental thing that can really destroy your life.
Yeah, and it was handled so well. Not to jump ahead, but the whole film being a commentary on true crime and people's fascination with it is something that I've been quite vocal about for a few years now. The rise of, I'm not saying that everybody who's into true crime is a bad person. I'd be no way of saying that, but this culture that's been cultivated now where everybody is like an armchair detective now, and everybody feels like they have to, like, I mean, we only have to look at
I mean, even the stuff that happened recently, people were with people that, so there was obviously a case, if you're outside of the UK, there was a case where a lady went missing recently, and unfortunately, she was found several weeks later, but people were getting way too involved. As in going all up in crime scenes and everything. And then
created this villain out of the victim's husband.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it definitely wasn't him. And like even
it
news
is problematic.
And news channels were getting in on it as well. I'm looking at you, ITV and Sky. The family of the victim were like, no, you cannot we do not want you reporting on this because you've made a villain out of somebody who's. So I think
very real issue that they talked about, which I think was very, very clever.
It was,
but it's always laced, isn't it, with social commentary? These films, absolutely.
Well, I missed out on an Easter egg that would have made me really happy in the therapist's office. Turns out, if you look at his VHS collection, there's a VHS with the Dead Meat logo on it there.
Oh, really?
And in fact, it was beautiful last night on Twitter, scrolling through, and somebody had pointed it out to Chelsea from Dead Meat, and she was like, I had no idea that was happening. Because in the credits, they have a special thanks. They're like, special thanks to James and Chelsea from Dead Meat, which is lovely. But they didn't know that they also still feature in the film with that. So I really wish I saw that. It's not to say I was looking for Easter eggs on everything.
There's going to be a whole lot to re-examine, like when it's on Blu-ray or whatever, and you can kind of hit the pause button and
on that subway scene, I'm pausing it every like millisecond.
So many icons. I think there's a lot to examine, which I think I don't know. These films keep us coming back for years anyway. I mean, even in when I said to you when we got out, even with 5, I kind of didn't pick up on the whatever happened to Baby Jane kind of reference when Officer Judy's in the car. I thought that was quite fun. But yeah, so I mean, we pick up then obviously with this call for, we're realizing that stuff's happening again, and it's followed them to the Big Apple.
You really are the most devious bastard in New York City.
And like I said, there isn't like really room to breathe that much, because they're immediately like, right, okay, it's a bit suspicious it's this close. Let's get out. Let's go.
Yeah.
Tara's kind of like, well, I kind of want to make sure before I do uproot everything. And literally, as they're kind of trying to decide this and having a bit of an argument, go into like a 7-Eleven or
bodega.
A bodega, yeah. They go into this store and have the scene that I think has been a bit. That's probably been the only controversy I've kind of seen about the film, is the fact that we now have Ghostface using a gun. But historically, Ghostface has very much used guns.
Yeah.
Maybe not in robes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's always been guns. The first one, people were getting shot and stuff. So I
literally Randy at the end.
I think it's we've never really seen them shoot someone in the costume, and I think that's what people. Yeah, and then I saw a lot of comments like it's supposed to be a slasher, and it's like, oh come on, they're not. It was one kill.
Good God, get a grip, girl.
You know what I mean? And it was good. It was a good kill. That whole scene. But the one thing that this film does brilliantly is the tension building in this film. It's like a masterclass. I was gripping the edge of my seat. The use of sound and the lack of sound in some parts, but that bodega sequence was a fantastic way of getting those two characters thrown straight back into the action.
And realizing that this actually is happening, and we can't just leave.
And we get to see this beautiful weathered Ghostface mask as well, which is like kind of become a thing now, since so we had the weathered mask from the new Halloween trilogy. That's the only time I'm really going to mention that.
No, absolutely. There's definitely parallels there. I think it's maybe aged a bit too much to say it was only like 26 years ago. Yeah, and it looks like it was made in like.
I want to know where it's buddy. Yeah, it's gone through the wars, that buddy mask.
It absolutely has. I thought it was like you said, really, really tense. And I mean, we were promised some really great set pieces, and it delivers. Like, we literally go from set piece to set piece, and the only easing up is literally the breathing space, I think, you need as an audience to just relax yourself enough, just so that when the next thing happens, you're able to get yourself scared again. Because it wouldn't make sense for it to be like bam, bam, bam. So I mean, we have this. They all go back to kind of like the house and do the sensible thing in their apartment. Decide to camp it out together and say, look, this isn't going to happen to us if we're sensible. And lo and behold, we're into the next like kind of set piece. And I mean, I can remember sitting next to you going, oh my God, because I just thought it was chilling. I know after we saw the film, we spoke, and I said to you about how it reminded me of the alternate opening to Scream 4, where a character kind of sees their friend die in front of them and thinks it's a joke and a practical joke, but it's actually real. It very much reminded me of that then when we get, I believe it's Quinn in her bedroom, Ghostface appears, and then a bit Rear Window-esque, I suppose.
And we get sexy neighbour man who Sam's banging on the sly.
Can I start his fan podcast? You can do anything you want. I'm just going to have his podcast.
He's a sexy man, isn't he?
Absolutely. Man of my dreams, I think, right there. I knew I was going to like him as soon as I saw that promo image on the subway. And I don't know, being introduced to him topless ironing as well, I was
Iron Man.
Absolutely fine. But yeah, I thought that was that's again another really big scene I think that's built up in the trailer. Is then the ladder sequence kind of between the two. Oh my God.
Just because we knew that there was, from the trailer, there was going to be subsequent scenes involving the characters like on the subway and stuff like that. It was although the trailer, props to whoever edited the out of that, because that was
magic.
Well done to them. But yeah,
also there's several shots I noticed. Sorry, just to peg onto that. Right. There's shots where Mindy's crossing the ladder and Ghostface is behind her, which isn't in the film because we know it's another character. Also, when Sam kind of falls off the balcony in the cinema later, there might be someone next to her who also falls off the balcony. But So
and
they literally
also
must have
there's
taken time to digitally
and also there's
change
shots
these things.
the shots of Samara Weaving's character going in and out of a subway station, and so just well done, because that trailer, I really wish because I've stopped watching movie trailers more than twice now.
I've tried to very much do the same, because if you memorize things too much, you kind of know.
What got me, it was the Halloween Kills. Oh, sorry, I've had to mention it again, but the Halloween Kills trailer. Do you know when he just like goes ham on those fire officers?
Yeah. But I mean, it was the whole sequence, wasn't it?
I would have loved to have just experienced that brutality without have seen it in the trailer first. That's why I'm really hoping getting ahead by a month here, but I'm really hoping that the Evil Dead Rise trailer isn't giving away all the goodies.
No, I'm hopeful it isn't. I feel like there's going to be a lot more. I mean, I don't know. Again, I do think it spoiled some characters' fates, but we can talk about that when we do the episode. But yeah, absolutely kept us guessing. And like I said, I think with that ladder sequence, I was very much like thinking like, oh God. So them locking themselves in the room and Ghostface trying to burst in and get through the door. Hated that, like in the best way. I literally thought everyone was going to die. Because I was just like, I know I've seen in the trailer that they eventually get onto a ladder, but this isn't going to end well.
No.
And I think there was one point as well where Ghostface then ends up shaking the ladder to try and get rid of one of the characters. I heard you just go, "You bastard.
Bastard. Bastard."
Yeah, you absolute bastard.
That's like, not to say that stabbing evil. People isn't evil, but that's on another level. That's like,
next
I'm
level.
Gonna with someone's head and really make them scared before they die. And
I think Ghostface was very different though in this one. I mean, as in like it was a whole lot darker, the whole thing.
Yeah,
like Ghostface wasn't having fun. I mean, he was having fun, but
But
do you know what I mean?
No, there was that. You could feel the malice behind everything. So that reminded me of, I can't remember if it's the film Nerve or Truth or Dare or something like that, but there's a sequence in one of those two films. I can't differentiate the two because they're the same film in my head. It's where somebody's going across like a ladder or something in between two houses, and it reminded me of that, but the stakes were a lot higher. This one, I mean, these people were battling with wounds to the arm and then through the abdomen. God,
the gore
amount of
and everything was
the
great.
blood in this, bloody hellfire. Like it is a gory film. It was so brutal. I mean, the Scream 5 was brutal, but this one was just like, well, we're gonna turn it up to 11 here and really
absolutely. It was very very intense. I will say though, I do feel like this was at a point, and I suppose we've already declared this is going to be a spoiler review, but I do feel like this was at a point where you guessed maybe what was going on.
There was a sequence where Quinn, we see a picture of Quinn struggling with Ghostface that Sexy Neighbor Man has sent to everyone.
I love that. I mean,
I can't get your attention. So rather than calling the police, he thought, do this. But yeah, I can't judge people. I've never been in that situation.
I mean, to be that attractive, there's got to be a flaw. So I
he was a little bit nice but dim, wasn't he?
Was that a negative, disparaging remark about my
Daddy?
And then there was that, and then when Quinn's body bursts forth, and we don't see her. We just see that there's a bit of blood on the door. She's got some blood on her, and they drop her down.
There's a neck kind of thing. But I mean, we've all seen Saw, so we know.
I was in my head. I was like, "How did he get in the apartment that's got several locks, as we've seen?" And we never really had like a confirm on her kill. So I was like, so in my head, I was already like, she's suspect number one now for me.
It was clever, I think, because you wouldn't be spending time to check that person was dead if Ghostface was literally there.
I'm also somebody who like religiously watches horror films and slashers, so I'm always thinking, oh, this makes sense. Like I wish I wasn't thinking like that, so I could have just enjoyed it. But but that still didn't take me out of it. Whereas In 5, I never guessed Amber, but Richie was
hella obvious.
Yeah.
As soon as he got slashed and like immediately knocked out, and then
yeah. For me, I was like, I don't really like that because everyone's going to be shocked, but I'm not shocked. Whereas this one, I feel like it was like having a fake out death is a way of.
It's quite good, yeah,
it's clever. So then we found out because like Tara and Sam are like.
This shit, I'm out.
It's been confirmed, but then we found out that like Sam's ID was left at the site, the crime scene of the two wannabe ghost faces at the beginning. So that's
also
really
her psychiatrist has now had it in kind of great fashion. Gets stabbed in the nose.
Oh, I know. Oh god, that was brutal. Like smashed through a door and then stabbed through the nose. But yeah, he gets. So she's connected to the crime, so that's what's keeping her in New York. And that was one clever on the writers to say how do we keep them in New York?
Yeah,
that's a really good way. And then obviously their friends aren't going to up and leave them if that happens. So I guess the second killer. Another ghost face. When I kind of realised that, I was like, well, somebody would not have to know the law to me with that. And then this detective, I've had my things about him anyway, but I thought if you're going to operate as Ghostface in a city as big as New York, you're going to need to have some kind of like
awareness, connection, that sort of thing. Yeah. So
I started watching. He was my suspect. And then I was noting things he said, like when he was telling them, "Oh, you need to take public transport.
That's suspicious.
You need to be public.
Yeah. That's weird."
And
that was quite obvious. I will say as well, obviously, this is where we very much had the reintroduction of a lovely legacy character who I'm so happy to see back. And I'm hoping that a similar sort of thing happens with Scream 7, because it was obviously drip fed to us that Kirby was still alive in the YouTube thumbnail in Scream 5. Obviously, Kirby very much is featured in this film as an FBI agent. So, girl boss, power to you.
Her fucking Clarice Starling on. I've had some time to think about it. I liked Kirby in this. I don't know. Visually, it looked like they put the Scream 4 filter on her, but no one else.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's very weird, isn't it? Yeah, I always noticed that about Scream 4. Some of Mike Flanagan's films as well. I don't know if it's a type of lens that they use, but everything kind of looks very diffused and soft. It's like when Cher appears in Burlesque.
I'm Cher, bitch!
In Scream 4, you've got like the Drag Race Season 1 filter all over the film. But it seemed to be only Kirby's character in this.
Maybe it's in her contract. Maybe she's like, I'll come back, but seeing as I'm coming back...
But
I need.
To be fair, her coming back, she was brilliant because she wasn't as snarky as she was in 4, but it kind of makes sense. She's now an FBI agent, so she's probably had a lot of stuff drilled out of her, but she's still not too far removed from what we were used to. Like she's still that like lovable like horror fan and knows her shit. And the film starts dropping hints that maybe Kirby seems to know a lot, but the detective is the one who's like starts sowing seeds of doubt, and that was another. I was
very suspicious of Kirby going into this because I thought I think once Samara Weaving was announced, I think we knew she was the opening kill. Because I think initially we theorized that we thought Kirby might be, didn't we? You know, when we found out Kirby was coming back, we were like, oh God, that might be a way to kind of get back into it. And I will say, I'm glad that she had a whole lot to do. Yes. I know as well, I think one thing to consider talking about this one is how much must have had to actually be reworked, because obviously Sydney was very much supposed to be a part of this film.
Yeah.
And then wasn't because of obviously the drama with the pay negotiations, but so I don't know if obviously she would have been there in a different capacity, and of course obviously Gail's involvement would have been maybe very different, but I'm very happy with how they treated Kirby. I love Hayden Panettiere as well. I think she's just stunning and a great actress. So
You've unleashed it now. You said the magic words. Gail fucking Weathers, ladies, gentlemen, and those in between and beyond. Oh my fucking God. Like, it's no surprise that I was going to love whatever Gail was doing in this film, because Gail Weathers is, like, without a doubt, my favorite horror character of all time. I love Gale Weathers. I think maybe the only time I've ever had issue with her is she didn't have a lot to do in 3. In the
apart from
final
have
act.
terrible hair.
Yeah. But I've always Gale's progression throughout every single film has always made sense to her character, every single one. And when this one, we find out that even though Gale at the end of 4 was like, oh, I'm not selling the story, I'm not giving those bastards the fame we want. Well, it turns out that Gale, she was like, you know what, I am going to write the book.
I mean, do you think that was right? Because I feel like she would have been a bit.
It's
because of Dewey.
The way she justified it, though, is she said, if I wasn't going to write it, someone else would. So why not?
I will say I liked the fact that we were getting her back in bitch territory. And I mean, literally, we had the whole punch sequence, which was iconic in 1 and 2. But this time we had Sam going for the punch, missing, her dodging and being like, yeah, I've done this before. And then Tara just absolutely just slapping her from the other side.
Yeah. And Gale being like, because I did think about it at first. I was like, I don't want Gale going back to that. But I'm also like, good for her, because that's always been, even though we know that Gale has heart. We know she does, absolutely. She's always not just had heart, but she also, no one fucks with her money and no one fucks with her.
She's driven.
Her power. And that's what I love about her. I love that they were like, we're not going to completely rewrite her character. And to me, it did make sense. I mean, when we first see her, she carries on the tradition of wearing an incredible suit. This time it's like a powder blue, like a cobalt color. I'm not a fan of blue, but I'm a fan of Gale in blue.
She was great. I mean, the absolutely tone on tone power suits that we just keep getting every film.
So my header on Twitter is Bet Lynch in the Pride
I was
going to
say we could probably make a pride flag out of Gale.
I want that for Gale. Yeah.
Okay.
And I want it on a t-shirt. And a jumper, actually. I prefer wearing jumpers. But yeah, and I am going to jump ahead a little bit, but in Scream 2, arguably one of the strongest scenes is Gale's chase scene in that. When I made my boyfriend watch it, because they'd only seen Scream 1 a few times. They'd never really, been with the franchise and watched 2, and I kept saying to them, I was that annoying person, I'm like, oh, this bit's coming up and I really love this bit. And it was nice to know that I was justified in that, because they were like, okay, that bit was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And so
it stands out. I mean, I think, so I always remember watching the trilogy with my mum, and I always remember that scene, watching that with my mum. I've never seen her react to a horror film like that before. And I mean, this is why I'm so excited to go and take her to see 6. Yeah. Because I think they said there was going to be a scene that was very similar to that scene. And that absolutely was. And it was phenomenal. I mean, we were shouting, we were yelling.
Oh, I was, we
probably pissed everyone off.
I was probably pissing everyone off, but I could hear people chuckling at my reaction, so I was quite happy. But I was obviously on edge. So we find out, they come up with a plan with Kirby and Detective Ghostface. And then we'll try and do, it's kind of like the second film, but we were in a public area, they'll be following us, so we'll get them to call us, and then we'll track where they're calling from, and then we'll catch them, and then we can see people on their phones.
Great bit of dialogue of how cliche that is in films, and she's like, what's that going to take, 2 minutes? And then Kirby's just like, no, I just need 15 seconds, bitch.
And then I love how Mindy was like, this is how my uncle died, in a van like this. Because that's what I was expecting. I was like, oh shit, one of them two are going to die now, but I'm glad they didn't. So and then they trace the call, and they're like, it's not here. And then Tara's like, it's on the Upper East Side. And then I was like, who the fuck's on the Upper East? Why? And then we saw Gale, and I was like, oh no, oh god, here it comes.
In her penthouse apartment, which was absolutely
penthouse
stunning.
Apartment with a fucking beautifully muscling man. I was like, you fucking get it, Gale. She's got money and good dick, and you know what? If that's all I want for my queen.
Yeah.
So
no wonder she's having a good morning every morning. She's got this going on. And I think as well, I loved it because it's the first time in the franchise for her to be speaking on the phone with Ghostface.
I know.
Is kind of crazy to think that she's such a part of it. And this could be the first time.
yeah, they mentioned that as well. They were like, "Oh, this is the first time we've spoken," and then Gale, in true Gale fashion, is taking no shit from him. She's got a gun. She knows she can't be fucked with, but this fucking sequence was harrowing.
The chase is so well done.
And it was,
and again, the editing in the trailer does not do it justice, because they made it look like literally she runs, goes behind a door, and then everything happens.
No.
Oh no, there's a pan, there's a balcony. I mean, how long does that balcony go on?
When she went on that balcony, I was like, "Get the fuck inside, get inside."
It's going to be a CC death. Yeah,
I was going to be fuming if she was lobbed off there, but no, we get Gale going one-on-one with Ghostface, and she puts up a an excellent fight, but she
absolutely holds her own, if not more. I think I know what we're going to talk about.
And then she gets it, and then she gets stabbed, and she gets stabbed a few times.
Not even that. The fact that when she's on the phone, because she's that smart, she goes, "Hold, please.
Please stay on the line, and we will answer your call as soon as possible."
She puts Ghostface on hold. So incredible. I know we were cackling, and literally calls Ghostface back.
This is for Ghostface. Big, fat, white, nasty, smelling, fat bitch.
Reveals he's in a f***ing cupboard, shoots the cupboard door, and then unfortunately, he then does burst out. But
that bit was
putting him on a hold.
Superb.
Putting him on hold. It's just iconic behaviour. Iconic behaviour.
But yeah, we get it where Gale gets it like good
brutally.
style, like brutally from Ghostface, and I was when we say edge of the seat, I was literally on the edge of my seat, gripping and shouting. And then,
I can't stand, but in the best way, when there's a chase with a knife and they're stabbing at the floor and it's missing people's feet. And the fact that they just did that for like a good few seconds, I was like, Gale, please move.
I forgot she twatted him with that pan. Yeah, that was fantastic.
And also twatted him with the book, which again,
when she hit him with
behavior.
The book, that bit was... Yeah, so then, Gale gets a good start, but is saved by Tara and Sam, who have stolen a cop car. I love that dialogue between them. Like, are you going to put the sirens on? I'm like, if I'm stealing a cop car, of course I'm going to put the sirens on. I love their relationship in this. This is what I'm talking about. They've really
they've got past the fact, haven't they? Yeah. That there was all this like shit that they had before, and now they're just sisters.
But they come and save the day, and then it looks like Gale's dead. Gale's final words as well is, "Tell Sydney he didn't get me." And that was really lovely. Sydney wasn't in it, but you could feel Sydney in it. And I do like that we got confirmation of where Sydney... Well, we didn't. We just...
Sydney's she was still referenced, safe. And I think it was all done with love. It wasn't...
It wouldn't have made sense for it to be like, "Oh, yeah, I'll come to New York. Why not?"
Absolutely not.
I haven't been stabbed in the calf yet, so why not? When we do that.
I think I was really, really worried about the Gale scene, and because they played that music, where it's like the orchestral choir when she gets stabbed, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like what happens when every main character gets it and dies. And I think it was clever that they did that, because immediately I was like, oh god, this is it.
There was tears in my eyes.
Yeah, I got very, very. I don't know how I would have felt, in all honesty. I will say we don't see Gale again at all. We don't see her at the end.
Do get confirmation.
We get confirmation she's stable.
Even better, in the credits, we get confirmation that Courtney Cox has now got executive producer credit.
Because she's literally Gale Weathersing this franchise now. I think I was worried because I'd seen her. She was doing a lot of the press, which naturally, obviously, she's going to. She's the biggest part of Scream. Yeah. I think she gave some stuff away where she was like, "Oh, well, I read the script up until my point," and I was thinking, up until your point, what does that mean? And then she's like, "Yeah, I don't know who the killers are," and I was thinking, oh,
well, I was scared because they mentioned the Star Wars,
all the characters dying. Yeah,
so in the first one, Han dies, and the second one, Luke dies, and the third one, Leia dies, and I was like, oh god, if that's how they're doing it, because they've announced Scream 7, I was worried in case there's one legacy character they haven't killed yet.
they kept Gail back just because Courtney Cox is more likely to get involved in another one than maybe Nev Campbell is.
Maybe, but I also, I honestly think that, like, I do love Sydney, but I feel like Gail for me is the natural person to. If you were going to have a legacy character back to be the throughput in all these films, Gail is the most natural one because she's going to Gail's all about the story and wanting to be the hero in the sense that she's the one who's helped.
Yeah, unmask and save the day.
And so it makes sense. And then, but we do I didn't really
miss Sydney all that much in this one. I thought I was going to miss her a lot more than I did.
I didn't miss her as much either. Like, obviously,
I think that's because Five Cream, she also was only really at the end as well. So
well, we also find out that Gail, because she's an incredible investigative journalist, has found a shrine to all the Ghostface pass, and the trailer showed us this shrine, but the film really we got
not the level of detail.
It was so much. It was so again. I'd really like to pause and see everything to do with Ghostface Pass are in this shrine that's in a theater. We see not just because in a trailer, it was nice. We got to see Debbie Salt pantsuit. We got to see Stu's robe and stuff but in this we even get to see the burnt fax machine from Scream 3.
Absolutely. And
it's set up where it's do you know how you get to see sketches of them all as well, and it really reminded me of those true crime people who true crime sketches and all that but that it wasn't. I was scared in case it was going to be hokey, this shrine, and it wasn't.
I think it was brilliant, and I mean that was like a level of fan service that again it reminds me of how Cabin in the Woods is. If you go back to that end scene and you pause, you can see all the monsters in all the cubes and be like, oh my god, that's supposed to be that. I think the only kind of grumble I had though with it was the fact that it then made me lean into more I definitely knew it had something to do with Scream 5 because that was the only thing. There wasn't evidence from those murders. There was nothing from there. It was all up until Scream 4. So I was thinking, I know this only happened a little while ago, but surely there will be something, unless obviously it's very much connected to someone who was involved.
Yeah, all we had were the robes and the mask. But this again was where my alarm bells were ringing when they were in there, because I was like, only somebody with connections would be able to get a hand of all this. But they were very clever at hinting that it was Kirby, because Kirby's a horror obsessive that we knew about, and then somebody in the FBI is obviously going to be.
Makes sense. I mean, that was a bit of a red flag, though, wasn't it? Because I mean, she's only 30 in this film, and literally, I think Gail says, "You're a baby, you're a child, what? You're not in the FBI." So immediately we had doubts, and of course, obviously, then cop Ghostface could be just fabricating it, which I think obviously is the case. But you do kind of think, oh, okay, this is the only person who's kind of locked these people into this shrine where they're trying to think of what's going on. So it's very, very clever. There is, of course, obviously then the whole subway scene over to the shrine towards the end, when they realize that they can utilize the shrine as a trap and make the whole thing a kill box, which I love that expression.
Yes, same.
We have the subway scene, which I think has been fundamentally the pillar of the whole marketing campaign. I mean, the posters are Ghostface on the subway, and everyone was going, wow, this would be really great to see. The trailer absolutely does an incredible job of editing it, so it seems like everyone is together on that train, because they are not.
No, they're not. They're on two separate trains. I was, when that happened, I was like, what? And then I leaned over to you and I was like, that fucking trailer.
But again, I suppose in some ways maybe it was its downfall, because I think we kind of then knew a character was going to get it, because in as many ways, I think to me that's how you do a trailer. You make someone think something, and then when they watch the film, they're like, oh, okay, this is completely different. That's great. I don't want to see everything. Fundamentally, we have Mindy kind of on her own, pretty much on this train.
With Ethan.
She's accompanied by Ethan, who I think is a bit of a a dodgy character from the start.
See, he wasn't in my line of sight, to be fair. I'll give him that. Like, everyone else was, because everyone was so set on it's him, and especially Mindy. In my head, I was like, nah, it can't be. They always do this. It's always, it's definitely this character, and then it isn't. So good for them. Spoilers. Well, spoilers. We're talking about the whole thing. There's 3, which was nice.
Incredible. Yeah. We had more ghost faces than ever before.
Yeah. That subway sequence, though, was fantastic. Not only were you like, oh, I can see Freddy! I can see, like, Michael Myers. There's Pinhead. There's the Babadook. There's, this, that, and the other. There was, like, so many, and that was nice to see. But the tension built up on the subway. The
editing, the sound design, like the fact that, because I get scared anyway, like on the underground or when I've been on the subways, like in America, when you do go into the tunnels and it's just the flashes of electricity that like light up the carriage and everything goes dark. It's like, yeah, God damn it, that would be a horrible place to be if you knew that there was a killer on there. And it was brilliantly done, the way that it would go dark and flicker, and then Ghostface would just move ever so slightly closer until he wasn't there, and then damn it, he's right on top of you. And it was it perfectly done. And I think the whole setting of Halloween as well around all of this, that's one of the things I really like about Trick or Treat. When the film Trick or Treat, there's the character who's the principal, who's like a vampire serial killer, and he just kills a woman in like plain sight, and she's covered in blood. But because it's Halloween, everyone's like, okay, it's Halloween, it's fake. Like, I thought that was genius. It wouldn't have obviously worked in any other way, but it was perfect for this. And for
it to be in New York, where it's like quite well known that if weirdos are on the subway, you don't pay them any attention. But honestly, that, like, the build up, because we knew it was going to be Mindy Kaling, but like they made it out that there could have been one on the other subway as well. So that was and then we got so we haven't mentioned that Billy is also a returning character. And once again, again, I'm not enjoying this whole.
That was the only thing I didn't like about it.
Sam can see Billy because in a way it kind of goes against what this film's trying to say is, let's not romanticize these killers, but to me they're like, we know that it's just a figment of imagination, but it kind of humanizing him, redeeming Billy, and
absolutely, making him seem like, actually he was onto something. No, he literally was killing people. And was a horrible person.
He literally raped someone and then murdered her, and then murdered a bunch of teenagers afterwards in cold blood. Like, let's not do that. So it's, I
think though, like your other half said, though, it was done a lot better in this one. It was a lot less hokey. I didn't like the rear view mirror Billy in Scream 5.
No,
that just pisses me off.
My least favorite one was there's a knife there, Billy. Because it's like, okay, you can argue that your subconscious saw it, but
I would just love it if Sam didn't say, and she's like, what? And he's like, behind the umbrella stand.
And she's like, I don't. And he's like,
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you, love. But no, so we it seems that Sam is maybe not all with it, and to be fair, this movie does very well at thinking, maybe Sam's going to snap, because we saw hints of it when she did stab Richie 22 times. And
very much become a trademark, I think, now, hasn't it? Do like that. I think it's good.
Our characters get to the shrine that's in an abandoned cinema, which was
great setting.
Which was a great setting because we also got like the Stab posters. We got to see a Stab 3 poster, which was really nice. And it all seems nice. There's a really cute moment between Tara and Mason. Oh God, what's his name?
Chad. Literally named Chad.
Tara and Chad, and then out of nowhere,
jump scare,
gets stabbed.
But then two Ghostface appear, and you think, this is going to be the big reveal. But no, then we get like them both going after them, and then we get both of them go on Chad and really go
brutal. I don't think we've never in this franchise, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've ever seen two Ghostfaces killing at once.
No, we have
ever.
Not.
And it is awful. Like they literally grab one of his arms, which I can't blame them. I'd be doing the same. Just like, okay,
I'd also be grabbing his arms.
Grab one of his arms, and then literally just make an absolute kebab out of him. And he's like, go. A bit cheesy, but because we love him.
And we can let him off.
I mean, you were there. I could not. I audibly gasped and couldn't help it. They did the Billy knife wipe in sync.
Yeah, it was like, do you know in Drag Race with the "shut up and drive" lip sync, however, or whatever, or when
Alyssa and Tatiana just go down,
spin together, or like other ones where at the same time they'll death drop at the same time. It was like that. I had to stop myself from getting up and like waving my finger in the air.
Absolutely, Michelle Visage when Roxy pulls the wig off. No, it was. I live for moments like that.
And then we got another fantastic chase sequence where they're running in between like narrow little like corridors and passageways. It was
practically a scare maze. It was brilliant how it was done.
So fantastic. And this, so a lot of criticism I'm seeing at the moment is the third act. A lot of people aren't enjoying the third act. They think it's the weakest part. I think, me personally, I enjoyed the third act. I feel like the motivation for me wasn't as solid as it could have been, but we get. I think
the reveal and the motivation were the weak parts of the third act.
Yeah,
but the third act was, in my eyes, I think phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
It was incredible. So we get Tara and Sam are there, and then they're like, "Oh shit, Kirby's in here," and the Officer Ghostface. He's got a real name. I just don't care to remember it.
Officer Ghostface.
He's called.
I think that's his name now.
He's just called and been like, "Oh, Kirby got fired from the FBI for poor mental health. It's her. She's the one who set you up." And then they're like, "We don't trust Kirby." And then Kirby gets shot. You turn around, and in my head, I was like, "It's going to be him. It's going to be him." And then we find out, the police officer who's been helping them is revealed to be Ghostface, and then another one comes out, and it blew me. I was like, "Oh God, okay, so maybe I was wrong." And then Ethan's revealed to be the second Ghostface, and I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe I was wrong." And then we get the reveal that there is a third, and it is Quinn. And then it turns out they are father, daughter, son,
and House of Gucci. Sorry, that's happened.
It's all good.
There could be 99 people in a room, but only one of them is Ghostface. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then we get the reveal that they are Rich's family and they're here to avenge the death. Turns out that Quinn was the one who started the online rumor about thinking. I'd have preferred it if she wasn't the one who started the rumor, but she fed into the rumor and she believed it, and that's why they were up. To me, that would have made more sense of why they were after.
Silly because there's no like guarantee that it's going to take off. Do you know what I mean?
To me,
it seemed convenient.
It then kind of like tried to redeem Richie a little bit to be like, oh, of course he was f***ed up. Look at the family he came from.
Yeah, I mean, I always find when there's like leaps of logic like that. I mean, we'll obviously get onto it. I think Scream 2 is far more believable with the family involvement because it's just a one person. But yeah, to think that a serial killer then has two serial killer siblings and a serial killer father is a bit of a leap. And I will say, I think that was my issue. I will say though, once that reveal was out the way, there was a switch up in how those characters were acting, particularly with Quinn. Like she fully went Debbie Salt in places when she's like waving the knife and even her line delivery was literally, I felt like they must have played her the scene before and
with
gone,
Laurie Metcalf,
do this, just please. Because she absolutely nailed it. And I mean, she was kind of a side character. I mean, up until that point, she was kind of quirky and funny, but obviously we lost her fairly early on. So that was nice to see. I don't think Officer Ghostface was the best. It was a bit, I mean, it was cheesy because he literally comes in and goes like, well, it was me, duh. Like, who else was it going to be? I think maybe that was, they were trying to link it to Richie because he was kind of like the funny Ghostface.
As much as I was like underwhelmed by not the reveal and motivation, then we get this fantastic like Sam and Tara back to back. They both pick up a brick,
don't they? Yeah.
And then
this is why I love horror, and this is why I love women in horror. That moment, her literally saying, "Look, I need you to be ready." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm ready." Like you thought that they didn't stand a chance. Immediately, you knew that they were going to win because you're like, you don't with these two.
No, it was absolutely phenomenal. And then we get just watch it. You get them like fighting them, and then Kirby, we thought Kirby's dead, and then Kirby's there, and she ends up saving the day a little bit as well, which is great.
But then gets stabbed in the exact same place with the exact same knife.
The same knife.
And then Sam's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to need this back. Just pulls it out.
Yeah. Sam then
the one-liners from Sam. I mean, I think this is why I fell in love with her this time around as a character.
She had I just think she had more agency in this one than she did in the first one. She wasn't this tool for the audience to get backstory and stuff. And
I think because in the first, we say the first one, but Scream 5, I suppose, it was more about Gail and Sydney at that conclusion at that house, whereas she was then just like her ex-girlfriend of the serial killer who realized that she's been sleeping with the guy, and like this one, she made smart decisions. She kept the boyfriend out of the picture because she couldn't trust him. She was there to protect Tara amongst anything else. I mean, there's even a bit where she goes, "Look, shall I just let him kill me so this actually stops?" And it makes sense. I know it's sad, but it makes sense because it's like, well, you're all just going to end up dying if we don't just do this. So I thought, she really came into her own at this end bit, and where we have the chase up to the balcony, and then she realizes she has to let her sister go literally and metaphorically in order to kind of be a better sister and let her do her own thing. I thought, I said this to you, the only thing I kind of found a little bit hard to believe was that Ethan, he initially gets stabbed by Sam quite a few times with the that she does. She goes up to the balcony, Tara drops down, stabs him again, then stabs him in the mouth and through the throat, and then says, "Die a virgin," which again, icon behavior. But then does come back.
But to be fair,
someone had to, and I mean the other two were impossible, and they've all I suppose.
Like even in Scream 2, like he gets shot 1,000,001 times and then he comes back. So we can, I suppose we can suspend our belief a little bit. I did
love though when Sam has the confrontation with Quinn on the balcony there, and she goes, "Looks like you're another brother down." We were like, shade, and then just absolutely headshots her in front of the dad, and then goes, "You got to shoot him in the head."
It's great. Like, and then then she drops down, goes to her dad's costume, and then puts it on, and then she flips the tables like we've seen people do before, and she rings him. And
would it have not just made sense though? Because surely, I was thinking about this. However much I love it for the fact that when I first watched it, I didn't really have like a problem with it. I think the issue is though now I'd be thinking to myself like, she must have come to before he did because they literally fall next to each other. Why would she not just kill him? Why does she then go to I think
it's because we
the lengths of.
I think it's because she was. We know that this character is psychologically unhinged and stuff like that. I think she needed that. I think that's what it was. It would make more logical sense for her to just be like, "Oh, this, I'll just stab him in the dick or something." Then we get Sam adopting her dad's Ghostface costume and mask, and calls the detective Ghostface, and then. Because that was a great bit. Hearing the sound design of hearing her run around, was fantastic.
Also asking, "What's your favorite scary movie?" Because you're in one. I was like, okay. It reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean. And he's like,
"You should be afraid of ghost stories."
You're in one.
You're in one. That's
a bit of Barbo. So yeah.
I really enjoyed her taking that, but then
she does grant mercy though, and I suppose that's where she differentiates from Billy. And I also love that as well, the fact that it's kind of now historically known that Ghostface killers wear bulletproof vests, so she just absolutely chops up his arms, his legs, his groin, his neck, everywhere around the bulletproof vest. She just absolutely has a go at.
So good.
And then Tara's like, "F him up, sis." so she does.
It's so good. And then we get like a little bit of a fake out at the end. Sam's taken her dad's mask, and you're like, "Oh, is that why a sequel's been announced? Are we going to really flip it now, and we're going to know that Sam's Ghostface and stuff?" But then it's like, actually, no. I did this for me. I'm dropping the mask here, and then
Gemma,
both me and
I
you.
I just want to be me.
I just want to be me. And then me and you both like looked at each other and were like, "Oop, I'll take that. Thank you."
I just saw silhouetted against the screen. Both our hands just go forward and reach for the hands.
Thank you.
I was,
yeah, and that's basically just the long and short of it. And then we get the needle drop of Demi Lovato's song for the thing.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on it? I actually like it.
I've only heard it in that. I haven't really.
I think it works really, really well. I don't know. I'm a sucker for like cheesy kind of poppy rock songs, and I think it works. I think, I don't know if you want to just kind of have a quick stab at like theories for the next one, because obviously, the next film has been confirmed already.
It has.
I mean, the core four are still alive. Gail is still alive.
We know
the
that
hot
Gail's
boyfriend
alive.
is still alive.
Yeah, yes.
I hope he doesn't get it in the next one. I think they've drip fed that someone might still be alive from previous films, because they did mention Stu, but I think it was a bit of a fan service thing. I don't think it is going to be Stu, because they knew that there is this rumor online that it always Stu alive, and then they hinted it at I suppose, with Kirby as an FBI agent saying he's dead, and then Mindy going, "Or is he?" I suppose it kind of. I really
appreciated that they were like, "We're going to acknowledge this," and I think we just put a pin in it, because I think, because I think if they were going to do it, they'd have done it. Because what I don't want them to do in the next one is when you like in Scream 3, if they're going to draw parallels to that, if they're going to be like, "Oh, there was actually a mastermind." Who were actually the...
Well, this is, I think, where it gets dangerous, because if you think about it, the motives and the killers and what have you in Scream 5 were very similar to, obviously, Scream 1, like literally happening in the same house at the end. And it was because they wanted a scary movie, wanted to make a scary movie. Very much like Billy and Stu, big fans of scary movies, what you shouldn't do in them. Scream 2, very much family revenge, same as Scream 6, very much family revenge, same as Scream 2. Scream 3 would suggest that it is going to be this overarching mastermind who did feed Richie and Amber.
I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm really what I would like with 7 is one. I don't want them to go back to Woodsboro. I don't want them to do that now. I'm happy if we don't go back to Woodsboro, because I just feel like that would. We know that it works elsewhere now. I don't want them to go to Hollywood again. If they were to keep it in New York, I wouldn't be mad. Like if we got another New York.
Yeah, I think the setting really works, because, like you said, there is that vibe, isn't there, that in New York? Like if something's going on, just look the other way. Yeah, don't get involved. So someone could literally be getting stabbed in the streets like they do in this film, and no one would do anything.
I feel like they could do I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and take them on like an exotic island somewhere. Have Jack Black.
As long as Jack Black, I was going to say. Great minds.
I would. I don't know. I said this to you, and I feel blasphemous saying it, but I wouldn't be mad if Gail didn't return for the final one. In such a capacity. I love Gail. I feel like it would still make sense for her to come back to report on it. But I feel like if we only get a small thing from Gail in the next one, I will be content with that. I feel like it wouldn't.
It's getting into ridiculous territory that she keeps surviving these things, to say that she's, I mean, literally in every film, pretty much she sustained some kind of injury, hasn't she now? So it's like, and I mean, this last one was by far the worst. I don't know. I think obviously this felt very much bigger and better. I think it was apparent they must have had so much more budget for this one, because it was great. The setting obviously was a lot bigger. I think it's going to do really, really well. I mean, we're very much still at the start of like it being released. I think a lot of people are going to see it at the weekend.
Opened in the US the day that we're recording now. Yeah, I think. Well, the predictions for the weekend are ridiculously high.
It's going to do a lot. I think it's going to do the same as, if not better than Scream 5.
Yeah, Bloody Disgusting earlier did something like the projections for it on opening weekend is insane, and it's really great, because what I really loved about Scream 5 is it did get a lot of people thinking about horror being this great cinema experience again, and obviously most horror filmmakers now are proving people right that there's some cracking films out there. We've had some amazing films. We've still got some more to come. We've got some questionable ones to come as well. But either way,
There's a lot. I think, there's still there's a lot to be excited about for being a horror fan. I think this year. I think last year we had a cracking year. Like we were spoiled for choice with a lot of stuff. But this was definitely a strong start to the year. And I don't know if because we obviously left and didn't really like Scream 5. It's not my favorite. I'm not saying that I haven't warmed to it a little bit more, but my expectations weren't the highest going into this.
No,
whereas they were very high last time. And because this was so good, I'm kind of like, how are you going to match this?
But
do you think Nev will come back? Do you think Sydney will be back?
If they say that this is the final in a concluding trilogy, I think I would like to see her on screen at some point, whether it's in a main capacity, even if it's at the end, they have like a little Sydney invites Sam and Tara, if they survive, and Gail over to hers to meet Mark and the kids, and we just have a little moment at the end of that. That's what I want. I want from 7 is it to be wrapped in a neat bow. I don't want any more. I don't. Just because most films, when I don't want it to become like Marvel, if that makes sense, where it's just going to go on forever and then it's going to be just oversaturated. I'd like it, and I don't want them to go to space, so I'd like them to
I think that's the unique thing though about Scream though, isn't it? And I mean, like, they addressed that in 5. Like, there isn't a recurring character. I mean, there is Ghostface, but Ghostface is different every time. I said to you when I was on my way over to meet you, like, I was excited at the thought that by the end of that night, I was going to know who the killer or killers were after that film. And I suppose that's the big thing about these films. Like, you want to find out who's done it. I very much think it's going to be someone who we've already been introduced to next time. I don't think it's going to be a new bod. I think Nev Campbell or Sydney was maybe going to die in this last one. And I think that's maybe why she was like, pay me more. But at the same time, it depends what her involvement is, because I know a lot of people have kind of commented, well, yeah, she is obviously, worth a lot. But if she's wanting kind of the same kind of pay as a lead, like, I mean, Sam and Tara were very much the leads of this film again. I mean, even more so than Gail. Gail was great, but she wasn't the lead character. No. She was just she was just the lead in our hearts. I don't know if she's just going to come in for like a scene again at the end. I was personally disappointed at how little she was in Scream 5. I just thought it was like tacked on.
It was. I've made it known on this podcast before that I'm not like a massive Jenna Ortega person, just because I've seen her in so much now. It was kind of like there was that one child actress who was in everything that I was sick of seeing at some point. She's
was
in
it Hannah Grace,
the one from Wish Upon,
Joey King.
But there's like this, and I was really worried. But you know what? The more I'm seeing of her, the more I'm loving it. She's a cracking actress.
I love her personality as well. Like, she definitely seems weird and kooky in real life.
I love her and like, Aubrey Plaza together. Like, that was a really lovely moment. But I will be as excited going into this one as this one. Again, I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, because I think I'm just going to protect myself in that way. But I need to start doing that with most things. I need to stop hyping things up. But so if we're going to talk about where it fits on our own personal rankings. So there are 6. So at number 6 will be Scream 5. Just in terms of rewatchability.
You're going from the bottom to the top.
So as rewatchability and enjoyment for me, if I was to just sit down one day and just think, I'm going to put one of the Scream films on, that would be the least likely one that I would put on.
Okay.
And then it would be 3. I love 3. I love 3 so much. I would have loved for Parker Posey to survive and her to come back, because yes.
Just Parker Posey, yeah.
And then I'm going to go with 4, and I make it known all the time how much I love 4. Then I'm going to go with 6. And then 2, and then 1. I've been talking to myself, because I was like, if I was to sit down now, would I want to watch 6 or 2? And it would be 2. It would be 6, because I want to watch it again straight away.
Yeah, but it's probably because it's fresh still, isn't it? You don't. I've not seen it as much.
It's still a really hard for me to rank 2 and 6, because I think they're equally as good for one another. In fact, if 2 didn't contain the singing scene, maybe it would be even a bit more obvious.
I just decided to myself.
So, heads up for everyone. I'm going to I obviously make a playlist for every episode. I will not be putting that in the Scream 2 playlist.
I will. Yeah.
But yeah, and then 1. I just, they said it in the 5th film, which really upset me because I was like, I can't possibly critique this. But it was the film that really ignited, I love horror. And it's Scream, and it has remained my favorite horror film.
If you think about it, that was the franchise we really grew up on.
Yeah.
Like, that was at that point where, I mean, they even talk about it, like, in the films, like, that was something that we probably saw far too young at a sleepover and Scream. And just so, I mean, it's always going to be special.
Yeah, I think that's my ranking, but there's not much, like...
No, the top is close.
Yeah, the top is very, very close because I think 1 and 2, if you would just watch 1 and 2 together, they are perfect, like back to back, complement each other beautifully. So yeah, how about yourself?
I think I'm pretty much near spot on with you. 5 would be at the bottom, unfortunately. Then 3. There are definitely, like you said, elements of 3 I really enjoy. 4, then it would be, I think 6 for me. Then 1 and then 2.
Yeah,
I slightly prefer 2 to number 1 just because I just love it. I mean, the thing is I'm not saying that I think the opening of 2 is better than 1 because I don't think you'll ever top Drew Barrymore in that kitchen with that bob, playing with those knives and talking about popcorn and scary movies. I just think that number 2, taking it into a cinema. I think the kills are a lot more like creative. There's a lot more going on. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Omega Beta Zeta, Debbie Soul. I mean, there's just so much to love about it. I really, really, I do love 2. I can remember because I think I watched Scream like maybe on like a VHS at a sleepover sometime when I was really young and kind of forgot about it a little bit. But then Scream 2, I watched like, I got the trilogy box set and then watched them all together. And I can remember just loving 2 and it really standing out. So I think that would be my ranking. 2 just eclipses it slightly.
Yeah. That's fair. Right. Love it. Well, perfect segue into hi, everyone who, didn't want Scream 6 spoiled for them. We've just
welcome back to the Queer podcast.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about Scream 2. As sequels go, it's fucking insanely good. They mention it in the film that rarely does a sequel live up or surpass its pieces. They mention 1 in Scream 2, actually, Aliens. I prefer Aliens to Alien.
You've got a hard on for Cameron.
as CC likes to say.
Definitely not. I've got a boner for men's.
For men's.
And Ripley. And Vasquez, actually.
Yeah. I'd feel pretty safe and secure if Vasquez was looking after me. So I suppose if you have just come back to this part of the podcast, you may have missed the fact that we were just doing our rankings. And speaking about sequels, we were kind of placing the Scream franchise, and I actually popped Scream 2 at the top because I do think in some ways it does eclipse the original slightly. I love it. I think, like you said, it's the perfect continuation of the story. It made sense. I mean, they'd have been stupid not to at the time because I don't think it was initially conceived as a trilogy. But then, of course, there were things that were needing to be commented on in the horror genre. I mean, horror is well known for having sequels, and by this point we would have probably had about 8 Friday the 13th and however many Nightmare on Elm Streets and however many Halloweens. So I think it was natural that it followed in that. Similar to Scream 6 then, I suppose this is where the parallels are being drawn. And again, we won't spoil anything about Scream 6 now, but we do follow Sydney now going to college, don't we?
Yeah.
And we're out of Woodsboro. Seemingly people are trying to move on from their lives and what happened in the previous film. I've got to start with that opening scene though. I mean, I think however much I love Drew Barrymore and that opening scene in 1, I absolutely love this opening scene. Taking the film into a cinema in front of horror fans who are also watching it in a cinema, and having someone get killed in that mayhem of like a midnight screening of a stab film. I mean, it's so clever, like how they managed to improve upon the meta-ness of it is insane to me.
And then we get our first introduction to our opening kill victims. We get to see Jada Pinkett Smith is there as Maureen. We don't know her name yet.
Keep my wife's name.
She definitely looks like a Maureen. I've always found that quite funny.
I love her. She's like, I don't want to be here. They're showing like
Sandra Bullock's down the street.
Oh my God, I'd be running to Sandy B, to be fair. I love me some Sandy B.
Oh, come on. If it was a stab movie, you'd be seeing a stab movie.
Wait, 97, what Sandra Bullock movie would that have been? Is it Practical Magic?
So you know how we always go on about the fake movie posters and sequels and stuff being announced? You know how there was the Beetlejuice one, which has been around for like 8 years.
Yeah.
There's a Practical Magic 2 one that's circulating now, isn't there?
That's got like a little altar on it.
Yeah. Confirmed to be false though. So,
well,
unfortunately.
The author of the books has said that there's a TV show that's going to be adapting the...
Yeah, because are there 3 or 4 books?
4 books. And it'll be the Rules of Magic, I believe, which follows the aunts when they were teenagers. And
yeah, I'm 100% down for that. That's fine. They just need to get an incredible house again. I'll be happy if that happens.
97 Sandra Bullock movies. There was In Love and War with Chris O'Donnell. But Speed 2 Cruise Control. So
it was definitely Speed 2.
Definitely Speed 2.
Maureen wanted to get on that cruise ship.
Yeah, she did. So,
love that.
We meet Maureen and her boyfriend, Phil.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes.
I mean, he's kind of by the by, isn't he? I think Maureen's the star of the show.
But played by the incredibly sexy Omar Epps. Like, he's just got such a cockiness to him that I really like in this, and but them two, like, their back and forth with one another is fucking insanely good. This is why I love the chemistry. It's so good when she's like, I want to go get some popcorn, I have some money, and he's like, you've got money? She's like, I've got my money.
I've got money.
I know you have.
Listen, Gemma, I'm claustrophobic, Darren.
Is Gemma Collins going to become the new K-Ro?
I mean, come on, get real.
I would absolutely love that to happen. But yeah, the sass in that line delivery when she's like, yeah, I've got money. I asked for your money. I was like, yeah, okay, queen.
And then we see, they're coming to watch Stab, which we find out is based on the Woodsboro murders in the first film. It's filmed in Stabovision.
I mean, if I went to an event that had this level of detail, like we've got the William Castle-esque like ghosts on the pulley system going by, we've got UV lights that like make everyone's free frigging costumes glow in the dark.
Honestly, why don't we get this?
What, like?
I want this for the Barbie movie. That's what I want. I want Barbie on pulley systems floating around, and then they're giving out free costumes and wigs.
I mean, I'd be down. I'd absolutely be down for that. But yeah, I think so. It's funny because this takes an idea from the first film where Randy kind of talks about who do you think would play you if you were in a horror movie or in this film, and then Sydney's like, oh, I'd get Tori Spelling and all of this. And I think it is quite funny that they then went, okay, we'll go with this.
Why don't we recreate the first film and film segments that are identical shot for shot? And it's just
it's so wonderful. I mean, to get Heather Graham now playing Drew Barrymore's character is incredible. I'm not too sure because I know it says directed by Robert Rodriguez, and I know he was a director at the time under like Dimension Films. I don't know, obviously, if he did direct those kind of little segments that we see, but I know I had the Stab movie poster up in my room at uni, actually.
Yeah.
Just because I absolutely love it. I just think it's great, like the lime green neon kind of ghost face. Yeah. I just think it's wonderful. I cannot fault that opening scene. Obviously, I feel like it would be a crime for us not to mention the fact that it's parodied so brilliantly in Scary Movie with Brenda Meeks
it is.
and her boyfriend getting glory hold.
I love it.
Instead of stabbed. But
I'll never forget the first time seeing this. I didn't know what was happening because we don't know that this is going to be an opening kill. We knew,
No.
First time I watched it.
Now it's like you go into a Scream movie expecting an opening.
Yeah. So we didn't know what to expect from it. We just wanted, because it was obviously such a smash, everybody wanted that. So I remember actively seeking out this film when I managed to finally watch Scream in its entirety, because it took me a couple of goes because I was so scared as a kid watching it. So I actively sought this one out. So I was watching it. I was like, let's see what happens here. And then I didn't expect her to die, because my mum's a huge fan of Jada Pinkett Smith. My mum's watched it on. Keep her fucking name out of here. Keep my mum's name out your goddamn mouth. Yeah, but like,
well, they did a crafty again, I think, with the marketing on this, because Jada Pinkett Smith was very heavily featured in the film's posters campaign. I remember there was that iconic Rolling Stone photo shoot, I think, where Nev Campbell, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jada Pinkett Smith, and they're all covered in blood. And I think, incredible. Ooh. So, I think it was a surprise. But I mean, again, that's where it kind of fed into the iconic nature of those opening scenes, was that you'd get a star who was, because I never realized, and I think I actually found this out from one of my college lecturers who we've had on the podcast, Zoe. She was a big fan of Jada Pinkett Smith through her music and like her Rocky kind of stuff that she did. And I think that's something I've definitely, obviously, maybe Willow's gone on to do a little bit more now, which is nice. But I'll probably say this is the most familiar with Jada that I've been, other than like Matrix and her Table Talks, and also Will Smith at the Oscars.
One of my mum's favorite movies is called Set It Off, and it's got an incredible cast. It's one of my mum's favorite films. Jada Pinkett Smith, Queen Latifah, Vivica A. Fox, Blair Underwood, Thomas Jefferson Bird's in it. Like, it's just got just an incredible cast. My mum really likes gangster movies and stuff like that are set in like 90s LA and all this. Like, my mum loves it. So I watched the second one with my mum. My mum doesn't like
she just devastated.
But we watched it, and my mum was like, I'm not watching. She literally walked out. She was like, that was horrible. That was absolutely. My mum couldn't watch it. My mum was crying. My mum cried at this because she said, why is no one helping her? Why is no one helping her? And that's like, thinking about it, that is the how shocking it is.
They literally show that, though, don't they? With like the horror fans taking the masks off and going, oh my God, shit. I can watch it on the screen, but seeing this shit in real life, absolutely not. Like,
so that,
the music as well.
For an opening is absolutely gorgeous. The scream she lets out. Is chilling.
I really hope it was her, and I hope it wasn't redubbed. I hope it was
whoever did that scream work.
Just kiss.
But I really love that we can see the events of the opening of Stab mirroring so closely, but then having like a gratuitous like tit shot and all that, because obviously we didn't get that. And of course, if they were
everyone groans when she puts the robe back on. And
it was clever them doing that. And then Jada's commented on it and all this. I love when she's like, Star 69 is
move.
She's like, her getting into it is incredible. But I love it. What I love is Heather Graham is camping it up as well.
Oh, yeah. Like, I don't know you, and I dislike you already.
I mean, it's just it's so great. And I mean, I think as well, you could tell Kevin Williamson must have been having so much fun doing that, and also appearing in that opening scene as well as the popcorn man. I'm always a fan of cameos.
Same.
I mean, it starts strong. So this is a shout out. I did a Scream related pub quiz a couple of I suppose it was last week now.
Yeah, you did.
And I might have won. But shout out to Anthony who organised it. It was at the Nottingham Night pub, but we were able to play online, which was great. So this theme was Scream because obviously the release of the new movie. And there was one of the questions was about the person who calls Sydney at the start of the film. You had to memorise the number. And because I'd recently watched Scream 2, I recognised the number from the lineup of numbers.
My days.
So, can you remember the guy's name?
No.
Corey Gillis.
Oh.
Just a bit
Corey
of trivia
Gillis,
for you.
555.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was it. It was the 555s that gave it away for me because I couldn't remember the sass. But yeah, so I suppose we meet Sydney now. She's moved on. She's got a bob. She's
got a bob. Recurring theme in this. A bob. She's at college now. She gets like a call that we think is from Ghostface, and then she's got caller ID.
She's so over now,
and she's just like, oh, for God's sake, do you know that this is a felony under penal code? And then she's like, oh. And
this is before she's even got up and had a morning shower.
She's literally this call wakes her up, bless her. But we find out she's getting a college dorm that she shares with her friend Hallie, who I will say this, I'm gutted that Hallie doesn't make it through. I love Hallie. I think she's such a fun character, and at least Neil, seeing interviews with her of how much fun she had making this, the absolute bit that stands out for me is the bit of back and forth with the cameraman. She's like, "You got that on film?" He's like, "I got that on film." You know, that was improvised. She improvised that
Love
line.
that.
Did you get that on film?
That's incredible. But yeah, I mean, you could tell. I think it must have just been like summer camp again for these guys, just getting back together. Because I mean, I think again, what they nailed with this one was just the cast. I don't think out of any of the films I've looked at the cast and thought, no, this isn't good. I mean, the only qualms I probably had was with 5 Cream, but then they've kind of been addressed in 6 now, which is good. But so we're kind of introduced to college life. Randy's in a film studies class with Buffy,
and with Joshua Jackson from Dawson's Creek. And I every time I watch it, I'm always surprised to see him because I'm like, oh yeah, Joshua Jackson's in this, and then we never see him again.
No, that's it. He's gone now.
But it's nice. I like because Dawson's Creek was in
he's billed as film class guy number 1.
But yeah, Dawson's Creek was like at its peak in 97. And then Kevin Williamson's obviously the mind behind Dawson's Creek. Of course they were going to get him. But I love that. So I know that it's a Marmite scene. People love it and hate it. I love it. I love when Randy gets the fucking film quote wrong when he's trying to be like...
Yeah, that bothers me.
It bothers me. I don't know if it was intentional.
Randy would not have made that misstep.
No.
Absolutely not.
I believe it's stay away from her, you bitch. It's like, no, it's get away from her, you bitch. And that's why
don't with us on that quote.
That's why Aliens remains like the best one in that franchise for me.
Absolutely, I agree.
They've got fantastic. I remember watching it with my mum, and as soon as Sarah Michelle Gellar came on screen, I was cheering. I was like so happy because this was what oh my god, this was like Buffy was out. Yeah,
she was very much.
I know what you did last summer was out.
The peak of like
Cruel Intentions,
everywhere,
and it was like, and oh my god, just like that film, Sarah Michelle Gellar deserves all the praise, all the awards, all the attentions.
I just love the fact that she's taking film class. Like it just. That just made. I think that's why I took film class. I was like, if Buffy can do it, so can I.
And she's got that signature snark as well to it. Like she's quipping with everyone, and I feel like she's in everything she does. Her line delivery is always excellent, and she's just incredible in this. Like when you mentioned the line earlier, so you have a
hard on for Cameron.
Hard on for Cameron. Yeah. I definitely fucking don't.
Also, I suppose this is where we're introduced to Tarantino lookalike Mickey, and so we kind of established this new friend group. We realise Randy's still very much got a thing for Sid, and he's kind of. It's revealed then that she's got a boyfriend, so he's not in there just yet. I mean, what did you think to Sid's boyfriend in this?
I've never lied, Derek. He looks like if somebody told me to draw an American
Well, that's just Jerry O'Connell, though, isn't it?
For a start, I can't draw, but he's not my favourite character, but I don't think he was ever meant to be. He's just a bit. He's just a bit of a wet blanket, and
I think it's supposed to be an immediate red herring, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
like it's supposed to be like, okay.
And the way that they continue that red herring going throughout the whole film is quite fantastic. Yeah. We get reintroduced to Dewey, who's now got a little bit of a limp.
I know.
Didn't add nerve damage, bless him.
But yeah, a bit of nerve damage.
Yeah.
There's something going on. Gail's back.
Oh, wait, right. So here we are. So Gail's back. The first scene, she's wearing this black sleeveless black top. She's got a bob, but this is a reason, right?
Bob.
So Gail's bob.
Almost like Kelly Rowland's.
That's you knew exactly what I was going to say. So she's got a black bob with red streaks in it, just like our Queen Kelly Rowland does in Freddy vs. Jason.
Freddy!
Do you reckon the writers of Freddy vs. Jason were like, we've seen what Gail Weathers did. We've seen Courtney Cox. This is what we want you to bring.
We need somebody iconic. And we need to make sure that there's parallels. So yeah, this is probably my favourite Gail.
Yeah,
I think this might be my favourite Gail in this film.
Yeah, I'd probably say other than the first. Gail.
Because in this film we find out that Gail and Randy Buddy Al. Gail and Dewey, it didn't really work out, and she wrote about him quite disparagingly in her book.
Is that a negative or a disparaging remark?
But yeah, but I really like it because it does make sense, because you've got this like doe-eyed, innocent boy and this woman, this absolute force of nature.
She's just incredible. Like,
she is, and when we see her, she's on the phone and she's giving it back and forth, and she's got a new cameraman, and he's like, I don't want to end up like your last one, so
the cameraman is absolutely incredible.
When things go to shit, I'm getting the out of here.
It's great. I mean, it's just a stellar introduction again, isn't it? So she's back with all of the press, and also kind of dupes Sydney into an interview with Cotton Weary, played by Liev Schreiber. So he very much becomes a character in the films now, I suppose.
Can we just take a moment to just talk about how stupid the name Cotton Weary is? I've always hated his name.
I do love that in Scream 3, though, that he has a show called 100% Cotton there.
Yeah, but like, it's just a stupid name, isn't it?
Do you reckon Kevin Williamson just like looked down at like a cotton shirt that was worn out, and he just went, Cotton Weary?
Yeah, I'm weary of writing this. But Cotton's there, and then Gail surprises Sydney and is like,
surprise, Sydney.
It's like, here's the man who you falsely accused of your mother's rape and murder.
Literally.
Surprise, bitch.
Oh, I love it. We get another punch.
Yeah.
It's a sort of moment. It's very well done.
Did you get on camera?
Yes, I got that on camera. Yeah, I got that on film. Love it. Yeah, I think it's just great. We kind of see then that it very much again becomes apparent that these murders are happening, and it is the work of a serial killer. So we are in familiar territory.
And who is it who realizes the connection between them all? Of course, it's Gail Weathers. So without everything's
with a little bit of help though by Debbie Salt.
Oh yeah,
because she goes, I'm just theorizing that if the original killer was from Woodsbury, it makes sense.
Oh right, so yeah, okay. This is a great moment to talk about Debbie Salt, who was. So I really enjoyed Roseanne as a kid. So when I saw Laurie Metcalf on screen, I was really, really happy. So when I made my boyfriend watch it, he was like, "Oh, it's her," and I was like, "Oh, she just keeps turning up." And I was like, "Oh, I never got that.
I never got it the first time.
I just thought she was just being like she was just like a little
just keen."
Yeah, and I thought she was going to get it at some point, so I thought, it's just cannon fodder, isn't she?
Well, I suppose this is a thing to talk about, because I suppose the film very much changed, didn't it? It wasn't supposed to be the film it turned out to be because of script leaks. So the killer, I don't think the killer was supposed to be Debbie Salt to begin with, I'm sure. So I think that was something that was very much worked into later. I suppose I think it makes sense. It lends into the whole like psycho thing, mommy issues, and all of that. It's Friday the 13th. I think it's great.
And Laurie Metcalf's performance is just insanely good. Like the switch, everything.
The absolute change.
We'll get into that.
Her eyes seem to like go black at the end.
They do. She's like a shark when it smells blood. Yeah. There's a big party. We get these.
There's so many 90s faces that you recognise. I think Rebecca Gayheart.
We get Rebecca Gayheart and Portia de Rossi as these two like sorority sisters who are trying to get Sydney to sign up to invite her to like a party. Rebecca Gayheart had Urban Legend come out at this point?
I think it was a very similar sort of time, wasn't it?
Because it was one of those proto Scream slashes, wasn't it? But yeah, either way. But it was they're this lovely they're kind of a red herring because they keep turning up at inopportune moments. But they're hosting a party, and then we find out that Cece, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, is staying back at the sorority house for Omega Beta Zeta.
You've got to say it like that. You can't say it any other way.
Omega Beta Zeta. And she's kind of like house sitting for the night, and she's the one who's going to be getting all the drunk girls in and holding the hair.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Because that as well, such an upheaval and 180 on conventions of the genre. Like, she's the one who's not going out and having sex and doing drugs and drinking and being irresponsible. She's staying at home, so all her sisters are safe.
And she's the one who is a horror fan, so would know all the rules. And but then we get this great thing where she thinks Ghostface calls her, and she thinks it's her boyfriend doing a bit. Kind of get like this fake out of, then one of her sorority sisters comes out, and then she answers the phone again. The
tension in that scene, like I always, that always strikes me. I think that whole scene is maybe on par for me with the Drew Barrymore opening scene. Like the dialogue and the way that, like, where she's like, "Why'd you answer a question with a question?" And then it is like he's talking and stuff, and then you hear the sounds in the house, and Nosferatu's playing on the TV, which is a great little nod to the fact she obviously just slays usually. Oh,
and I love it. Like, I love it when a sorority sister is like, "Oh, it's a phone call for you," and she's like, "Oh, it's there now. My boyfriend calls," and then it's like.
Meanwhile, Ghostface is just tittle-tattling into the house and behind. I mean, when you think about it, up until that point, she was safe.
Yeah.
Well, she would have been fine if he hadn't have. I mean, that is one of. I think that's what strikes me as well. It's one of those deaths in a horror film where you know what's going to happen, but you still watch and you're still willing that character.
Every time, I'm hoping she survives, but I say the same about I Know What You Did Last Summer. I always want Helen to live. I think Helen should have.
So there's the reboot or kind of requel, isn't there? That's coming out. And I know. I think they were speaking about it. Apparently, she was approached about whether or not she'd kind of want to come back, but then she was saying her character's decapitated. No. Did we ever see that? At any point?
I'll have to rewatch it to tell you. I haven't seen it for a while.
Same.
I think they could easily write in a twin sister, a long lost twin, Parent Trap style.
If Freddie Prinze Jr. is coming back and Jennifer Love, huge boobs, then I think we could definitely get SMG back. But yeah, she again was a big reason I think I was excited for the second one because I knew she was in it.
And then she gets this glorious chase sequence where she's putting up a decent chase and a decent fight.
It's the stuff for nightmares, though, isn't it? Like, you know, when you literally run away from someone upstairs and they're getting closer. And again, brilliantly parodied in Scary Movie when the piano and the grandma goes down the stairs.
Grandma, hi, baby. When she chucks the bike at him, I thought that, oh god, she's just wanting to do everything she can to get away from him. So she chucks this bike down, and so I was like, oh god. And then she gets stabbed, and you think, oh, maybe she can, she can come back from this. No, she gets yeeted off the top of the sorority house.
And the scream as well.
So good. And then.
Never said I was innocent.
And then everybody at the party is like, oh my god, the police are swarming around Omega Beta Zeta. You've all got to come. And then Sydney goes in.
I will say, when everyone leaves that party, rewatch that scene and look at one of the extras who leaves that party on the left-hand side. No, so he's in the background, I think, when they're in the back garden. But there is an extra who, I don't know if he was directed to be this bad, but he literally leaves the party like,
oh yeah. The guy who's clearly on several drugs and I know you're on a
gurning on his way.
But yeah, and then for some reason she's not in her own house. Sydney decides, I'm just going to answer this house phone. It's clearly not for me. But,
I mean, I suppose it was the 90s. So.
Yeah. So Sydney answers the phone, and lo and behold, it's Ghostface. And he's like,
"Oh yeah, I'm back. Hiya, love.
I'm back."
Love that.
And then little lovely chase sequence with Sydney.
I think the chase sequence is quite funny in this one because Ghostface does completely go over a cow.
Eats so much shit. Yeah, that's what I've always loved about these films, though, is that
the killers are just so clumsy.
Yeah, that it humanizes. You know that there's the person there. We don't get this.
I think at this point we know it's not Debbie Salt because, of course, we see Debbie Salt again later. But I love the idea of Debbie Salt completely stacking it over a floral sofa.
It's got. If you ever want to watch some good videos of people breaking down exactly which killers killed who and how they've done it, Zach Cherry on YouTube. Can't recommend enough. Also, I'm not going to talk about Scream 6 in a way, but his predictions for Scream 6, I think there's one bit that he'd be really happy that he would happen.
He got stuff right.
No, he wished for something to happen, and it happened.
Oh, brilliant!
If anyone out there really loves the Scream films, Zach Cherry on YouTube just really, really fucking loves these films, and has even plotted out Billy and Stu's movements in the opening sequence. Just like plotted out for realistically where they'd be.
Crazy.
Honestly,
I think so. You know the episode we did last year on I think I watched that video after we'd recorded because it's literally like a floor plan of the house. So you see the circles moving as he's like creepy as. Yeah. I mean the fact that like I don't know. I believe. I mean Kevin Williamson's an incredibly talented writer and incredibly competent. So I assume he knew exactly what he was planning as to where stuff was. But very strange that. Sydney decides to answer someone else's phone. Of course, the red herring that her boyfriend is the killer is kind of reinstated here because he goes inside and gets a little bit of a
superficial wound, much like someone else's boyfriend in a later entry that made it very obvious that. But he gets a superficial wound. So obviously, Sydney's like,
"You're joking? Not another one? Oh, for God's sake! I can't stand this."
I'll just get some dick that doesn't have like a knife attached to it. So but also what's really great is we get the killers fled the house, but then we just get Rebecca Gayheart and Portia de Rossi just standing there, just looking in like,
you're right.
What have I missed? I love that.
So
just so good. Like the timing and the pacing in this film is fantastic as well, and the comedic elements really like so
the
well
balance
paced.
Is just so.
And the fact is, they made this within a year of less than a year of the first film, and the fact is they managed to get it so right. You know of other projects that have been made in a rush and have not been so great. This they're just completely
nailed it. Absolutely. So I suppose we're kind of at a point now where people are starting to very much die around Sydney. Sydney's then realizing with the help of Gail that these murders that are being committed, people are being killed because they have the same name as the original people that were killed.
Like Maureen Prescott.
CC as in Casey, I suppose.
Yeah, Casey Becker. Yeah. Obviously, Gail proving to be the greatest investigative journalist there ever has been or ever will be. Oh God, I can't get over how much I love Gail in this film. Things kind of like settle down a bit, and then of all people to get a phone call, Randy gets a phone call
in a very public space as well.
So it's in like a quad.
The audience is thinking, okay, we're all right, but it's done fantastically. Also. I'm so glad you mentioned this because I wanted to talk about this scene. The bit that absolutely kills me every time. So Randy's on the phone to the killer. they're trying to look around to see who else is using a cell phone, and they're like, oh, okay, that person over there, that person over there. So Dewey rugby tackles this guy, essentially, and then Gail picks up the phone, and the woman's like, hey, who's this? And she's like, Gail Weathers, author of the Woodsboro Murders. I just love that. That's that introduction.
Randy starts talking about how like contrived the killer is because, he's trying to emulate Billy Loomis, who is a big fucking mama's boy, and blah, blah, blah.
Pussy ass mama's boy.
And then we get conveniently timed men with boombox.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think it's genius because in that entire scene, when you rewatch it, that van has been in the background the entire time. So again, we're in this public space, we're in this setting, we assume everything's fine, and then Randy makes the mistake of turning his back right next to a van door and gets pulled in, gets stabbed, and then, like you say, some I don't know, B-boys, I don't know what we call them. They're kind of just doing some body popping as they go past the van. It's very weird, very surreal. Pussy popping as they go by the the van. And he gets it.
Yeah, and we see the aftermath of it when the van is opened because they're like, oh God, where's Randy? And then they open the van because they see some blood dripping from it. And then it's just a massacre in there. And then we get a fucking incredible scream and panning of Gail. Yeah. Oh,
I love it. Just it reminds me of the scream of obviously Casey Becker's mum in the first one. You know, that it's just like guttural. It's like so and the cheesy kind of zoom in.
Oh, I love it. The only way they could have improved that is if they freezed on it. If they did a freeze frame, that would have been
to red.
Yeah.
That would have been camp.
We're in the college cafeteria. It's a bit tense at a table. You've got
Sydney's now being shadowed, isn't she, by two federal agents? I'm a federal agent too. I work at the post office.
one of them's potentially a homosexual as well. Gay rights.
Gay rights.
So yeah, and then they're all there, and there's a bit.
Neither of them look like Kevin Costner, though. I will say.
No, they don't. No, but then again, no one really looks like Whitney Houston unless they ever do this. So yeah. So they're sitting there, and it's a bit tense because obviously Sydney's like, oh, still could be my boyfriend and stuff like that, and he's like, oh, how can I prove that I love her? And he starts like talking in a weird way, and you're like, what are you doing, pal?
Decided to myself.
And then he gets up on a fucking table. And
I do appreciate that. I don't think he lip synced.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I think he genuinely did that.
Jumping from table to table, singing an incredibly cheesy song, and then Timmy Oliphant's character is like, oh, Tom Cruise
throwing dollar bills.
Yeah. And then Mickey's really like hamming it up by like throwing his like hands up in the air. That bit always makes me cringe. And basically then gives his Greek letters, like a necklace of the fraternity that he's into.
I mean,
Sydney.
the whole sorority fraternity system is just it's
weird.
a horror movie in itself.
I
think there's no coincidence that a lot of films are set in that setting.
Yeah.
When you look at their recruitment videos, I think I saw one on TikTok this year, and it was the
only sorority for me is
Omega Beta Zeta.
No, the one that Elle is a part of. I'd love to be in that. Just supportive sisters.
Yeah, love
or
that.
The one from House Bunny, actually.
Joanne.
I love House Bunny so much. I just fucking love Anna Faris so much.
Oh, the fact that she then parodied Scream as well is just that's a full circle moment right there.
But,
Joanne. You sound like Jigsaw. Joanne, I want to play a game.
Where were we? Oh yeah, so but he sings this and he gives his Greek letters quite publicly, and then we get like a little, oh, you don't give your Greek letters to your girl. That's like a big
foreshadowing.
You're not allowed to do that.
It's going to be a bit of a
frat
consequence.
Shit.
Yeah. But I suppose at this point, again, they're kind of very much like, well, this is, Gail's kind of at her wit's end with the investigation, and she's now become a lot closer to Dewey. Sydney's going to get the hell out of Dodge because although she appreciates the Greek letters, she should probably get out of Stabby Town. This is probably, we're entering into like my favourite bit of the film now. I suppose, again, talking about the musical number we have in the cafeteria, I do love the theatrical side of things. The fact that Sydney's also playing Cassandra in...
let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about her Cassandra costume.
Production, yeah.
And then, we got a...
Well, I'd just like to know what the budget is for this drama group.
Me too. As somebody who did theatre at uni, I'd love to know where they're getting their money from. But we get we get an incredible cameo from David Warner as her like theatre professor.
Absolutely nails the drama lecturer vibe as well, where he's like, selfishly, I want you to stay because I have no understudy.
From somebody who had to drop out a second year of uni for a mental health breakdown, and one of them was like, but you were helping with this play. And I was like...
That's great, but we also need this.
Yeah, I'm going to kill myself. So her as Cassandra, and then that sequence where all the masks in it are like the Greek chorus masks, and they kind of do resemble the Ghostface mask.
Bit of a Ghostfacey mask snuck in there. Yeah,
you think she can see him, and I don't know if she can. Like we still don't know whether it was actually Ghostface there, but I don't think it is. I think she's just seen things. But
yeah, I mean, it would be triggering, surely.
Oh my God,
I'd get PTSD from that.
Her in this scene delivering
not by my hand or wish. Yeah, love it.
And her makeup, her costume, she should have stayed in that throughout the rest of the film.
I'd have been happy with that. The fact that it's commenting though as well, like, I mean, I think a lot of horror films do that, but usually it's a little bit more on the nose and a bit more hokey in like in a lecture sense. Like they'll have the word like fate written on the board, and they're like, this character can't get away from it. But the fact that it was in a play and she was playing a character, again, adding to that like meta level of this film, the fact that she was playing a character who had no control over her fate and she was destined to be a part of this tragedy. Yeah. And then literally her life is this massive tragedy that she can't run away from. I just, this is what pisses me off about people and horror films, the fact that they just don't see the level of thought that goes into it. It just bothers me. It just bothers me so much. And they never get a look in at award shows.
No.
Triggered.
No. Yeah. I'll always fight the corner that Lupita Nyong'o didn't, the fact that she never got
Lupita Nyong'o, Mia Goth this last year, Toni Collette from Hereditary.
Toni Collette in every single film she has ever been in. Toni Collette,
especially Muriel's Wedding.
Yeah, I've and Sixth Sense as well. I don't like Sixth Sense, but her performance, and Toni Collette is probably one of my favorite actresses ever. Anyway, this is not a Toni Collette podcast. Maybe one day I'll start one. But my God, her performance in Knives Out as well, when she's like dancing around.
It's when she's starting her skincare line and it's just utter bullshit. I love it. Absolutely love it. So I mean, I think the layers upon layers that this film has. I think it is probably more than any other Scream film as well.
Yeah,
like I think they really were like, okay, this works really well in the first one, so let's see where we go. So Dewey and Gail are now working together to identify the killer or killers, because they have the idea that, well, if this person has done these terrible murders, maybe they're going to be at all of the press events. Maybe they're videoing. Maybe they want to see kind of what's going on. So they're looking for footage in all the crowds. And we have this great scene where I mean, I used to love it as a kid when the VHS cart used to get wheeled in with the big TV. They've kind of got that setup going on, and they're watching some stuff, and then they're getting it on because I don't know.
Yeah,
they just love each other, and then the TV cuts to a live feed from another camera, and then we realise the killer's watching them right now. And it leads into, I think, probably the greatest set piece I think of the entire series, which is Gail's chase scene, because unfortunately Dewey kind of gets a bit discombobulated due to nerve damage and falls down the stairs. So he's kind of out of it.
Such a great fall as well.
It's such an absolute like Pratt fall, isn't it? His arm goes up and then he just goes forward. So yeah, in classic Dewey fashion, he's kind of out of the way. So Gale's forced to run further and deeper into the literal maze that is like the film and media department. We have like all these sound boards up, soundproofing boards, and like glass screens and recording booths and lockable doors, which I think is great. And it's just honestly fantastic. I mean, the way that I imagine that must have been built as a set, and they must have been meticulously planning, like, right, we'll get
the
Gale to go on
choreography of it all. Yeah,
I mean, it's a dance, isn't it? Practically, it's so wonderful, and it's almost like a single take kind of thing. And I mean, this would have been at the time when that sort of shit didn't happen all that often.
No,
in films, it's by far one of the most tense scenes. And I think, like I said to you, and this is again why I can't wait to take my mum to see Scream 6, is because when I tell you, when I watched this film with my mum and I watched this scene, the noises she was making as she watched this, like Ghostface would like shimmy along a board in the background and she'd be going, ooh, and then like she'd move and then a door would lock, and it was just absolutely, it was great to watch her watching it. And I always love as well when we get like a soundproof situation.
Yes,
so again,
too.
harkening back to Aliens with Ripley and Newt banging on the glass, and so which I've just kind of realised is probably a nice little homage there, as they referenced Aliens earlier.
Yeah.
And then poor Dewey enters the maze, and we're like, shit. Gale's kind of somewhat safe now.
Yeah.
You're not going to be safe. Because Ghostface is very much still in here. And yeah, unfortunately does get stabbed up against the glass. And it's a heartbreaking moment where they're both just looking at each other and they can't touch each other. And I don't know, it speaks to the fact that we care so much about these characters, because
it does.
It's heartbreaking.
As Dewey slides down, Gale retreats into a corner, looks away for a single second, and in that second, Ghostface
that bothers me.
With a bye,
does a Michael Myers, and just evaporates. It's I mean, it's phenomenal. At this point, the sun's gone down. Campus has got all spooky. Sydney's leaving with Hallie because they're going to go to a safe location with the bodyguards. And I mean, it makes sense. It's like we always get to that point in films where you're like, why do we not just leave?
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. And I mean, literally, we do see them start to leave. So you think, well, nothing's going to happen here because they're kind of getting out of the town. And lo and behold, Ghostface suddenly springs up at a zebra crossing. It's like, nope. I also love the fact that Kevin Williamson must have written in the line, "Don't ask, don't tell," before the supposed gay agent gets.
I always love that line. I always forget until it comes up, and it's like, oh,
it's justice for the gays there, I think.
Oh, and then we get an absolutely brutal death in this car scene. Oh
yeah, I mean it's basically, I mean, this was the descent before the descent happened. That scene with the pole through the friggin' bleh.
The final destination of it all. Yeah.
I also so Ghostface has driven. Well, Ghostface has driven the car with one of the agents on the bonnet, who's masterfully just stayed there. So kudos to him. And ends up crashing it into a building site where there's a ton of like metal and steel poles sticking out, and just gets absolutely impaled through the face. It is great because then we're immediately into another set piece where they realize the cop car is actually a prison, because you're not supposed to get out of cop cars. So how the hell are they going to get out? I think it's wonderfully done. I love the fact that Hallie asks if he's dead.
Yeah.
He's literally got a pole through his face. His brain is everywhere. And Sydney just calmly replies with, "I think so."
This bit always, like, edge of my seat on this bit. Like, even now, knowing, even though I've watched it a million times, just the tension in this of them having to climb over an unconscious Ghostface, and there's just no way in hell you think they're going to do it. You're like, no, this is going to go badly. Like, this is never going to work. And when Sydney hits the steering wheel with her ass and the horn goes off, I tell you, I think my soul left my body the first time I watched that. It was glorious. But yeah, you don't expect it. So yeah, sorry, plot twist, spoiler alert. They do manage to make it out because
even though Sydney gets out, they still can't open the car. So then Hallie has to get out the same way. And it is so tense that they cut to a shot where Sydney's literally like pulling her top half out of the car. And you think Ghostface is literally just going to like cut her in half or do something in a minute. Like, this is not going to end well. And then when they get out, you're like, thank God, run, which they do initially.
And then Sydney's like, actually, I've had enough of this. Yeah. I can't be asked this shit carrying on. I just want an end to it. I'm going to go back. And then he's not there, and then Hallie's like, so where is he? What's going on? And then
it's the cheesiest way as well. Like, she throws her arms out. She's like, what do you mean he's not there?
And then Ghostface comes out and kills Hallie, which
the sound as well, because she has the funniest, like, brightish yellowy kind of creamy yellow jacket leather thing on. The sound when she gets stabbed, it sounds like someone's stabbing, like, I don't know, an inflatable. It's very weird.
At least she didn't go.
She just flies across the street.
And I'm still gutted to this day that she never made it. I really liked Hallie's character.
To this day!
Seeing Sydney being able to be vulnerable around a friend again. Yeah, which was really lovely. And then Sydney runs off.
I suppose you knew the intentions, though, of that character initially. Because, of course, Hallie, I think, and Rebecca Gayhart's character were supposed to be the killers, weren't they, in the first draft that got leaked. I think it works better for her not being the killer.
Yeah.
Because I think, even though, we do see Sydney be so vulnerable around it, you do kind of think, okay, maybe.
Yeah. We hear...
she's halfway out the town, but then we hear that.
Then Sydney's like, oh, as a good theatre kid, I can't deny the call. So there's the music from the play she was doing starts playing, and Sydney's like, I think, to be like, I took issue with, why would she do that? And then it's just...
Does she think that they were rehearsing or something, though, surely?
No, I think she's just resigning to the fact and this needs to end. I've just seen my friend die. I just need to go. I don't think she'd just run into some rehearsals. I
thought she would assume that people are there.
Right,
she'd be like, there's people.
I thought you were saying, she's full. Shit, I've missed rehearsals.
Do you know what? No one's replacing me.
Yeah.
I'm Cassandra.
There's supposed to be no understudy. What's going on? I want to see who's replaced me. But yeah, she goes back to the theatre, and then, ta-da! We got a Ghostface reveal. Well,
we do, indeed.
No, wait, first we see that Derek, Jock boyfriend, is tied up to one of the set pieces. Sydney's like, it could still be you a little bit, I think.
Well, yeah, because we get the reveal that Mickey has been one of the killers all along. And I will say, I think he played it really, really well. So credit to Timothy Oliphant, who plays Mickey. I think
he's all right in this. With age, he's gotten so sexy with his grey hair.
I like him in The Crazies. I thought he was very...
I like him in The Mandalorian.
And Santa Clarita Diet. He was funny, but him and Drew Barrymore was...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's so fucking sexy now. Like, he was all right then, but now he's like DILF. Pure DILF now.
Yeah. No, I see it. He very much tries to trick Sydney into the fact that her boyfriend is also part of it. And with her being somewhat wise, she's like, do you know what? Both of you. Like, no, I'm not doing this. And then he shoots her boyfriend. And it still blows me away now how they did that, because there is like a squib that goes off. And obviously this would have been at a time when they wouldn't have just CGI'd whatever.
No.
But it's his naked body, and it looks really, really good how they do that bullet wound.
Fantastic.
And then, unfortunately, he dies, and it's kind of harrowing, because I think the way that they do it is really, really good, because with these sorts of films, you don't really think about the consequence of these people dying all that much. But they do really kind of say, well, he was a really nice guy. He was just here to train to be a doctor. He was actually going to save the world and save people. And guess what? He's dead because you've had trust issues. So I thought that was good. That was a way to really give kind of consequence and impact to his death there.
But then Mickey's like, well, I couldn't have done it alone. So who's that at the door?
Waiting in the wings.
And then we see Gail, and you're like, what?
It was the Bob.
And then swiftly followed by Miss Debbie Salt comes in, white pantsuit, gun in hand, And then we realise that these two characters have never interacted. And we hear Mrs. Loomis, and you're like, what?
It suddenly makes sense, yeah.
And then, so she didn't, she was actually listed as Debbie Loomis at some point, but this isn't a massive spoiler for Scream 6, but in Scream 6, they do give her a name. Her name is Nancy Loomis.
Yeah.
Still a nice little nod. She's still got a Wes Craven legacy name, which is nice. Gail's like, hang on, you were really fat. Like, you were a fat bitch. I saw photos of you. I included them in my book. And she's like, oh, I got some surgery and lost some weight. And then this character who's just been like comedic and doe-eyed, as we mentioned earlier, it's like when a shark smells blood, her pupils are like dilated to and she's switched, and now she's like unhinged.
There is such a switch up in that, like in that final reveal. It's scary, actually.
And
it
does feel like that reveal of Mrs. Voorhees, of Pamela Voorhees, because I that is still one of my favorite reveals and performances there. I love her. Mommy.
Get her. Catch her, baby. Get her.
I love Pamela
so
Voorhees.
good.
Yeah. So it turns out that it's Billy's mum, and she found Mickey on a website for serial killers, and she's kind of been like, they've been
grooming him. To be honest, grooming him into becoming a serial killer so he could help her exact revenge.
Got him into the friend group and all this lot, but then we get a fantastic moment where she's like, "Oh, Mickey, your story's a load of shit. Your story's a load of shit. Like, your thing is going to be shit. I can pin it all on you because what? This days it's all about the trial. This day it's all about the trial. I don't think so.
A red wig and a silver dress. I don't think."
Just gets rid of Mickey. I love her line as well, where she's like, "My motive isn't as 90s as Mickey's. Mine is just good old fashioned revenge."
So
chills.
Good.
So good. I mean, I think she is probably one of my favorite killers in the franchise. I think the motive is perfect. I think it isn't just the fact that Sydney killed her son. It's the fact that Sydney's mum
ripped her family apart. Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it.
Incredible. And then so we get this like chase sequence between Debbie Salt where Sydney is like full on theatre kid. She's like, I'm going to put on a fucking show. I'm going to get the lighting rigged up. I'm going to set the fake lightning up. Like it's so camp. It's so
brilliant.
Camp.
And literally when Debbie's like looking through the hole in the wall and Sydney's just got an axe and she's just axing all these ropes and lights are swinging down. And then Debbie tries to climb over the back and then the rock wall just falls on her. And it's so funny because it's clearly a stunt woman.
Yeah.
And then they redub her going, "Oh!"
But it makes me laugh how they put real rock sounds in there, as if they weren't, as if they were going to use real fucking boulders.
Yeah.
As somebody who did theatre, no stage manager is saying, "Yep." In my risk assessment, I will pass off these fucking real boulders. Yeah. But then seemingly
Gail appears, gets shot off
in the midriff. Yeah.
Because just Gail.
Yeah.
So Gail's been there, but is shot and is now in the audience.
She's in the orchestra pit.
She is, and now Sydney and Nancy Loomis, Debbie Salt are back on stage, having kind of this hoo-ha, and Cotton's now back in the picture, saying, "Come on." Yeah, I tried to give you an olive branch and you've accused me of murder.
What we didn't say earlier is he's really determined to get a Diane Sawyer interview. Diane Sawyer says...
That's scarily good.
I love this bit because then he's got like the gun on Debbie Salt, but then kind of moves it to Sid, and because Debbie's like, "Come on, Cotton, she f***ed up your fucking life, and all we've got to do is kill her now. You can walk away, and you can get your deal." And
it's so savage because Debbie's like all bloodied now. Her eyes are like even bigger than before. She's got a knife to Sydney's throat. Like the pantsuit, the white pantsuit's now a little bit bloodied. She's looking a bit manic, and we don't know what Cotton's intentions are.
No, we don't, because we don't know. I think it's really clever that we still didn't really know anything about Cotton other than him being fame hungry, which as we've known in the past. So it's so good, so good. So good. I'm
also an absolute sucker for like one-liners and then something badass happening. So when he does say that Diane Sawyer interview is probably looking nice about now, Sydney, and then she just kind of rolls her eyes and just goes, "Consider it done." Debbie's like, just gets. But again, we don't know who Cotton's shot at that point. They both fly backwards, and we're like, "Shit!" And Sydney doesn't move for a minute. Debbie isn't moving. We're like, "Oh, okay." And then Sydney gets up. And we're like, okay, cool. Oh, jump scare.
And then Gail's. We find out Gail's fine.
It just grazed a rib.
And then they get up, and then they went, "Oh, remember, you've got a double tap." And then they shoot her in the fucking head. But I love her face when she's shot in the head. It's the tongue out for me. It's fucking fantastic. And then
wonderful.
We get what has now become a staple of the franchise of a killer return, and Mickey gets up and they just shoot the absolute shit out of him.
To the point where it literally, he's running, going blah, gets shot, and then it just literally cuts to another stunt person just getting yeeted like back to the wall, legs akimbo. It's
fucking
brilliant. But again, there's use of real rock sounds, I think.
And we get like the finale. We find out that Dewey's actually okay, which will, until some point, will become a running theme. Dewey's fine, and all this press swarms Sydney, and she's like, "Oh, don't ask me, ask Cotton. He's the real hero of the story." So it's kind of like that's Sydney's repaying of like, "Look, I'm sorry for what happened." And then we get a pan out of Sydney just walking away, and we get to see the college grounds, and it's just really like it's.
Yeah,
I really love the
cathartic ending. I think for that film. To me, like I said, it's my favourite. I absolutely love Scream 2. I really, really, really think it's. I think it's a near perfect horror film. To be honest, and to say I think that they had to adapt so much script wise as well from the fact that there was leaks, and for leaks to have existed at that time as well on the internet, I think is mad.
It's quite impressive actually.
I mean, it just shows you how hungry the audience was and how much of a thing it is for people to find out who the killers are. I'm really glad we covered Scream 2 on this episode. I think it's a great film, and Scream will always be one of my favourite franchises. And if you like Scream 2 and you've not yet seen Scream 6, go check it out, because I think you'll be impressed.
You'll notice, if you are a fan of, well, just the franchise as a whole, it's really great, like culmination of everything that's happened so far as well. And I don't think you'd be disappointed, and some great performances. So so in a future episode, we'll talk about 3.
Yeah, we'll probably do Scream 7, Scream 3 side by side, because no doubt there'll be some parallels there. And then Scream 4 will just get done on its own.
I hope they do. I hope they do the fake out Carrie Fisher style thing in 7, because that, I know we're not talking about 3 in this episode, but that bit where it's like, you kind of look like, I know. I was up for the role of Leia, but I wasn't the one who the director. I miss Carrie Fisher so much.
So good.
But yes, that was great. It
was a nice discussion. I enjoyed that. I suppose, though, with us talking about recommending Scream 6 on the back of Scream 2, we should move on to our own recommendations for this episode. So I don't know. Do you want to kick things off?
So your book recommendation this month is called The Cotton Candy Massacre by Christopher Robertson. It's quite a nice short book. It's only 355 pages, but it is like watching, as you're reading it, it's just like watching some campy, low-budget 80s horror film. I'm not going to give too much away, but it involves a haunted cotton candy machine that turns people into killer clowns.
You've sold me already.
It has some incredible main characters, some absolutely disgusting like gore. It actually comes with a discretion. So the way that it's set up as well is as if you were going to be watching a B movie, and it's like, warning: this book contains scenes of extreme clownage and gore.
Clownage and gore, love that.
Yeah, it's incredible. The author has created a playlist for it, and I really love it when authors make playlists to go along with their books, because that's something that I'm planning on doing myself, because I'm making playlists is probably my favorite hobby. I love it.
Yeah, you do a killer job though. It's
why I was determined
episode.
to do it for this as well. I love it. I have like my own inspiring like playlists while I'm writing to get me in the mood.
Well, that's funny you say that, because I do exactly the same, with films. Like, so, we're making like a short film or whatever. I'll usually make a playlist to get, because I think I was reading about this somewhere. There is definitely like a phenomenon that some people have where they see music, and I very much feel like that's me. Yeah, like I can close my eyes and listen to something and see a visual.
I kind of create my own little music video for in my head. So the Cotton Candy Massacre, it is batshit insane. Oh my God, I didn't even explain the best bit of it. This book...
There's more.
This book contains a musical sequence, like a musical number. I'm not going to... The way that they do it as well is really good, but this book has a musical number.
Okay.
It is... even though I've only read it once, I will put it in my top 5 books.
Of all time?
Of all time.
Okay, that's high praise.
The minute I finished it, I was like, I need to read this again immediately. Wow. I cannot get enough. If this ever got picked up to be a film or something, I would want some part of it. I'd want to be, even if it was like background artist. It's honestly incredible. So massive shout out to Christopher Robertson. I've heard that all of his books are incredible. There's one called Virgin Night that's the night before Valentine's, and apparently that's like a campy slasher.
Sounds great.
There's one called like Laser and Lizards that looks like it's like a future one about cyborgs and dinosaurs. Yeah.
Why not?
I cannot wait to check more. So that's my first recommendation this month. It's The Cotton Candy Massacre by Christopher Robertson.
Perfect. I suppose what I would recommend, still kind of staying in a similar topic to what we've spoken about today, it's another film written by Kevin Williamson, and it's called Sick. It's available to watch on streaming. It's a slasher film that is set during the pandemic. I think but it's not like a yawn fest. It's not like something that makes you go, oh God, something about COVID again. But all I will say is, holy shit, that opening scene was absolutely mental. I think we have... So the character work in this, like with anything that he writes, is just spot on. Mm-hmm. Like, you are 100% behind these people who are in this situation. I think, if I'm being honest, I think it's just the COVID version of Scream. I think it's great.
Yes, that's what I felt, yeah.
It's spot on. There's so many like great moments. Like there's a bit on water, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
There's and it's quite violent as well.
It is.
But in like the best way. But yeah, I had an absolutely incredible time watching that. I'm gutted it wasn't at the cinema, because I think I would have really loved to have seen that in a cinema as well.
That would have been fantastic.
It's a film you can feel people would be like yelling at and being like,
yes,
oh my God,
at home I was yelling. I forgot I watched that, but it's because it was in a week where I read 3 books in a week and also watched a million films within a week. So I really love Sick. That's If you love Scream, you will really enjoy Sick, especially Kevin Williamson behind the pen. So my second one this month is it's a song which I've never really done before.
Check you out.
In preparation for the release of season 2 of Yellow Jackets, Florence and the Machine have done a song for it and have covered No Doubt's Just a Girl. Oh my God, what a cover.
Talk about a way to make it your own, but also be really faithful in many ways as well. Like, it's just perfection.
Oh my God. I mean, I've always loved Florence. Oh, just create some like lyrics and music and voice, like whole package. Incredible performer, show stopping, shit on it, piss on it. Never been
done before.
Not afraid to reference. So if you haven't listened to it already, go and do it. And also, as a little bonus, if you like the playlist we make for this episode, last night I created a couple of playlists because I couldn't sleep and had some writing inspiration. I made an 80s goth playlist.
Incredible.
So it's called Strange and Unusual.
I am both strange and unusual.
It's got a glitchy pentagram as the cover, and I made
love it.
Made like a little 80s goth playlist with plenty of Susie Sue in there. So my recommendation is listen to some of the playlists I make because they're amazing. I have one I make some kick-ass cover art for them all as well. Yeah.
That's dedication. That's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, leapfrogging on the back of that, obviously Yellow Jackets. I can't wait to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they nail it. Obviously, we were massive fans of season 1. I could not get enough of it when I was watching that when that came out. So yeah, very, very excited. I suppose the only other things that I would kind of recommend are things that are already out, and I'd just say just go and support. Like, we were on the fence and we very nearly did an episode, I think, on Megan. So. But I mean, that's available for streaming now. There's an unrated cut. It doesn't add that much, I will say. There's just a lot more kind of swearing and gore. But I think that's great. I love original horror ideas. And I think it was a lot of fun. It knew exactly what it was. Also, Knock at the Cabin is the same. That's been out at the cinema and out on streaming. It was just a nice way to start the year to go and see something like that. I think the performances were great. And it was, it really, really kind of stuck with me that I was seeing a film where the two central protagonists were queer and it wasn't their whole identity. And it also was narratively, it made sense and was very much I think it was great.
I read the book and I was like in two minds about the book. It wasn't until the second time I read the book that I enjoyed it more. So it's weird because when you read a lot of the horror I read will just have queer characters in it and it's of no consequence. So like as I read it, I didn't really pick up on that. But then when seeing it on film and seeing affection between two queer characters on film, there was the affection that got me. I think Knock at the Cabin is a real Marmite film for a lot of people at the moment. There are people who are like, I didn't like it because it changes the ending of the book and blah, 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 blah. I really enjoyed it. I think the emotional weight of everything in it, for me, came through a lot more. And Dave Bautista's acting in this, I've never seen him in a...
Have you seen Blade Runner 2049? Did you ever check that out?
So I've never actually watched Blade Runner.
Right. No, that's fine. That's a Marmite film. I don't really like it, to be honest.
See, it seems like it's right up my alley because I love synthwave imagery.
Slow though.
Synthwave imagery and music. That's my favorite thing in the world. Plus,
it's iconic.
Harrison Ford is so sexy.
Also, yeah.
I
mean, it's iconic, and I mean, obviously, it changed the game for stuff. But I mean, he has a role in Blade Runner 2049, which I very much say, but he plays like an old man in it, which is interesting.
Okay.
And I think, if he hadn't have done that, and then maybe people involved in Knock at the Cabin had seen that, I think that's maybe what got him the job on this, because he really showed his chops in that. I'd probably say, even though he's not obviously in it as much as being practically the lead in Knock at the Cabin, he's I personally, I think he stole the show in those scenes. I thought he was really good, and I'm a big fan of him. I find him quite attractive.
Oh my god, same. Yeah, absolutely. Especially in Knock at the Cabin, I was like, I want to climb
Glass
on like
Onion,
a tree.
the tiny little swim shorts in Glass Onion. Okay.
So the main reason why I've never watched Blade Runner is because there are so many different cuts of it. I never know which one, and then nobody can tell me which one's the definitive one.
I think it's whether or not you want him to be a replicant or not be a replicant. But then 2049 kind of alludes to the fact I don't believe he is.
Okay,
if I've got that right, I might have it the opposite way around. I know one of the cuts. I think the director's cut has his eyes glint at the end.
Right. Okay.
And so it's kind of and there's more footage.
Yeah.
But, it's by the by.
So that's just reminded me of a really little segue. Is the first time that me and my friend Jazzy love The Little Shop of Horrors. We think it's one of the greatest musicals ever made.
I mean, it is. So yeah,
we made. Well, we didn't make. We got our friend Becky to watch it with us for the first time, and we were like, and she was enjoying it and stuff. And then it got to a scene, and then Audrey gets eaten, and we're like, what? And we thought it was like
it was in the director's cut.
It was a director's cut. It was the theatrical, like the original ending. But because we didn't know
that
one
where it goes full Godzilla and then there's just giant. Yeah.
With don't feed the plants at the end and all that. But because we didn't realise that was the version we put on, me and Jazzy were like, I was like, Jazz, I probably watch this film like twice a year.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at it, I was like, is this some kind of like fucking joint Mandela effect?
It's just,
like, what's going on?
Just weird.
Yeah, it's a really, really great story. But speaking of great stories, it's time for this month's Hookup horror story with a twist this month. When I say twist, it's, I'm not going to be reading it out this month. You've got one for me.
I have indeed. So with us talking about Scream and violence, that will lead you a little bit into, I think, this month's Hookup horror story, who's been submitted by a friend of ours, and I'll reveal their identity at the end. They've given me permission to do so. So all I'll say is strap in and enjoy the ride.
Okay.
A long while ago, before Grindr... Can you hear that dog, by the way? Do you want me to... or not? No.
Shoot that damn dog. No, I ain't shooting no dog. No, I didn't hear the dogs.
So, a long while ago, before Grindr was the norm, us alternative emo queers would use this dating website called Alt Vibe. It was a nice community of gay emos, punks, indie kids and goths who would occasionally meet for gigs, rock bar clubbing, but obviously to hook up with that hot skater boy. Insert Avril Lavigne clip here. I met one said hot twink skater boy, who I will call Dwayne for this story. We chatted online, getting to know each other, sent nudes, etc., until he mentioned that he liked wrestling. I got excited because I too loved wrestling, especially all the WWE stuff. So we got to chat even more and got motivated to ask him out on an in-person date. I met Dwayne at a bar the next day, drank a little at the bar, and because my place was close by, I took him to mine to watch some wrestling and see if I could do some alternative wrestling of my own. I was very excited. When we got to mine, we curled up on the bed with a few beers and watched some hardcore matches, which are the ones with blood, barbed wire weapons, and flaming tables, you name it. I didn't know this existed, by the way. I didn't realise there was hardcore wrestling.
I used to watch wrestling when I was a kid, and that never happened. I used to just get a boner every time that Triple H or The Undertaker would come on.
Plot twist, this is your story. Dwayne started to get very aroused, and this really got me hot. So we made out, started to play wrestle as we got naked. It was fun until I was topping him and he started to get a little rough. It wasn't too bad at this point until he was riding me and on the verge of climax. He then started to aggressively punch me repeatedly in the face as he was about to come. While this took me by surprise, we did both come at the same time, so something obviously worked.
New kink unlocked.
Once we finished, I angrily told him to leave. He said I wasn't even a real true wrestling fan because otherwise I would have known how to defend myself. This got me even more pissed off and I told him to leave immediately. The next day, I woke up with a swollen black eye and had to spend the next week with sunglasses on saying that I'd had some kind of accident. I was so embarrassed and ashamed, but luckily I never got to see him again and learned two very valuable lessons. One, always have a safe word, and two, while someone might be into wrestling, others might be into wrestling. It is always best to know which one they mean before letting them pin you down. This is my story. Please feel free to use it for the next episode.
Good God.
So, see, there we go.
I am too much of a volatile person, shall we say, for that to ever happen to me. If somebody was to lay hands on me like that, my fight or flight would kick in, and it usually goes to fight.
Catch me outside, how about that?
It's very rarely flight, and I would be punching them back.
Yeah, I can see that.
I would yeet them off me, like they'd be flying off my dick to the other side of the room.
So their flight response would kick in and your fight response would kick in. I see how that works. I will say, I did check again that obviously it was okay to mention the person's name and read that out, but that comes from our wonderful friend Johan. We met up a few weeks back and he was just telling me about it. I was like, I want to treat Liam to a Hookup horror story one time.
Is that Johan's way of just trying to tell us he's a top?
I mean, I kind of got that. I was kind of like, okay, I get it, Johan. You're into twinks. God damn it. Yeah. Jesus. I was like, okay, I won't hit you next time, Johan. But yeah, no. I think he said that was like a good while ago. But I'd have been mortified. But the thing is, I don't know if this is like a regular thing. I feel like I've heard this from other gay people that I know, that people just tend to go a bit far in the bedroom department.
It's never happened to me, thank God. Oh wait, I had a guy slap me in the face once, and I literally was like, he went to
slap the dick out of my mouth.
He went to do it again, and I grabbed his wrist. I was like, "Get the out of my house!
Yeah,
get out now, because I will kill you."
Some people are really into it, aren't they? I suppose, but
yeah, I'm not. Are
you a gentle lover?
No, I've got a temper on me, so it gets. It switches on. It switches on so
Debbie
easily. So yeah, I will turn full on Debbie Salt. Like I'm naked, but all of a sudden I'm in a white pantsuit, and I'm like, "Get the f*** off me."
Was that a negative or disparaging remark about my
dick? Oh no, that's fantastic! Thank you so much, Johan.
Yes, thank you, Johan. You wonderful soul. I mean, he's okay now.
Yeah, much like the person in that story, it was lovely to be on the receiving end of that fun. No,
you're welcome.
I've never hit anyone during sex, and I just couldn't.
I've never hit anyone really during life, so I don't know why I'd start doing it in the bedroom.
Life,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The most I've done, I suppose, was okay. It's a bonus story, but it's not like it's just something I did. But I've recently quit smoking. So
congratulations, well done.
It's been one of the hardest things I've ever done in life, which, considering I did 4 years at uni and all that, and but it's honestly been hard. I've realised I've been smoking since I was.
You've smoked all the time I've known you.
Yeah, it must be. Hang on. So, how old are you in year 8?
What? Fucking hell, Liam.
Like 13,
12, 13, yeah.
So like 20 years of my life. I know. So it's been hard. But yeah, I was having sex with someone once and I was gasping for a fag. So I put an ashtray on their back and I had a fag while we were having sex.
I am speechless.
I was just like, it was when I still lived with my mum, I was about 16 and there's a point we used to smoke in the house, and I had an ashtray at my bedside table, so I just picked it up and I was like gasping on, and I was like, I can't keep reaching over. That's going to take me out of my flow.
At least you didn't just knock it off on the back.
Just put it on the back, and they were like, "Oh, what's that?" And it's cold, and I was like, "Oh, sorry." I was like, "It's an ashtray." They went, "What?" I was like, "I need a fag." And they were like, "Oh," and I was like, "I'm not going to stop. Don't worry. Carry on as you were."
Great. Yeah.
It was lovely.
Convenient. Yeah. I like it.
Who says men can't multitask?
You heard it here first, folks. This is their queer exclusive. You'll be on Dragon's Den next week. Like I discovered this.
It's a strap-on ashtray.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Well, yeah. What a fun episode. I had fun talking about these movies. It's good to
be back in the swing of things. It really is. So, for anybody who's listening, we're sorry that there's been delays. Life just gets in the way sometimes. We're both. Unfortunately, we don't really make any money off this. This is just for some fun. So if this could be a full-time job, that'd be amazing. But if you want to support us in any way, and I'm not saying money, but just check out all the shit we do. Check out all the stuff Super Freak Media does. Go and check out short films. Go and check out blog posts. Go and check out everything. Blog posts will be up and running again soon. Don't you worry. I've got one in the works. And and every time that if we announce something, give it a little like and a share. Go on, that'd be nice.
Yeah, show us some love. We get lonely sometimes. But yeah, it's nice to be back. I'm back. So I think next month we're kind of having a look at like what's being released and kind of tying it in with films that we love. So the new Evil Dead film is going to be out next month. It'll be the 21st here in the UK. So that is usually our release window. We usually release on that date. So most likely we'll go to the cinema that night and then record an episode soon after. But this has been a fairly long episode, so that should keep you together.
And in the meantime,
so many other episodes to catch up on.
You can go back and listen to stuff. Even if you've never watched the other day,
we've recorded so many.
I know. Yeah,
we've done a lot. We've done a lot. Like so, yeah.
And we're going to be talking about the Evil Dead franchise. You know, if you've got a hookup horror story that you want to send in, you can be anonymous. You can
if it's related to a Necronomicon, Cabin in the Woods, or Deadites, that would be even better.
Yeah, that would be
just a tenuous link.
If by any chance Bruce Campbell's listening, if you just want to slide into my DMs and you don't even have to tell me a hookup horror story, we can create our own.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you want him to show him your boomstick, don't you? That's why.
God, he's such a. I tweeted something the other day because somebody was talking about Bruce Campbell at an event not long ago, and I said he's still the most handsome man in horror. He's just so handsome. Not even like
I think early Evil Dead. I kind of get it. Yeah.
Even that, I just think he's got like a golden age face.
Something endearing about him. I think. Yeah.
Anyway,
I know what you mean. But yeah, if you want to hear more of that, next month we'll be back reading from the book.
I will try to recount how many boners I've had over Bruce Campbell. There we go.
Good to know. Good to know. But on that note, I'll let you sign us out.
Yeah. So until next time, remember that closets were not made for people; they were made for monsters and babysitter killers. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Good friends. Goodbye. now
it's time
to go.
Oh.
You've been listening to a podcast on the Super Freak Media Podcast Network. To show your support, be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. And you can find us on social media in the links in the description of this episode. Thank you for listening.